The tape, let's grind. Shut up. The tape. Let's grind. The tape. We do it a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape, let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape, let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape, let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape,
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
the tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby Smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do it a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's
Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Monday evening, brought to you by our friends over at BetUS. I got a loaded one for you today. Me and the boys are going to talk about the Week 9 reactions, what we are certain of, what we are 100% certain of at this point in the college football season, coming to you tonight, and we're going to take a sneak preview of the Week 10 matchups we got coming up in store for us this weekend. But I want to start right here. I had a football coach back in the day, Coach Kenny Dallas, and this wasn't his saying. I'm sure thousands of coaches before him had said it, right? But failure to prepare, right, is preparing to fail. It's very similar to the old coaching cliche of there's two types of pain in this world, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret, right? We've heard coaches say that, but I love the idea of failing to prepare is preparing to fail, right? And I think that's exactly what comes to my mind when I think about what happened in the second half Saturday night out there in College Station between LSU and Texas A&M. It was very clear to me watching the tape and breaking it down today that LSU's defense was fully prepared for Connor Weigman. They mixed coverages. They were plugging run fits really, really well early on in that football game. Almost too prepared for the Connor Weigman experience because they boxed Connor Weigman right up out of the football game, right? Right up out of the football game. So now we have nowadays we only have so much time. I think is what I was going to say. We only have so much time to prepare for opponents, right? You have to prepare your football team as much as you can, but you only have a limited time in college football. So you can see why some of these teams, particularly in the SEC, are having problems preparing for Texas A&M right now. Not only is this a difficult task because there are two quarterbacks, right? Connor Weigman and Marcel Reed out there at Texas A&M, but they run two totally different offenses. One is a very pro-style, death by cuts from within the pocket. not very involved in the quarterback run game. The other one is completely involved with the RPO schemes and preparing for the quarterback run and a full in-depth Colin Klein offense, right? They're two completely different offenses, all right? And it was clear to me that LSU's defense was trying to figure out Marcel Reed on the fly in that football game, and that is a recipe for disaster when you play this football team. And I give Brian Kelly a tremendous amount of credit because for the first time on this network all season, I have watched a football team be ill-prepared by their coaching staff and then go to the press conference to listen to that coach after the game. And for the first time all season, really, I've watched a losing football coach come to the microphone and take every bit of criticism and be willing to admit, we were not prepared. I think his direct quote was that his staff didn't have the answers. They did not have the answers on the defensive side of the football for Marcel Reed. We've watched Missouri prepare for Marcel Reed only to get Connor Weigman, and Weigman just absolutely destroy them. And then we've seen LSU only prepare for Connor Weigman, only for Marcel Reed to come in there and destroy them. I think the lesson has been learned at this point in the season through 10 weeks of college football. If you're preparing for Texas A&M, you better be preparing for both quarterbacks or else you're preparing to fail. Welcome in to tonight's show. Like I said, we do indeed have a loaded one for you. We're going to talk about our Week 9 reactions from a loaded and somewhat predictable, or at least by the script, weekend of college football, the first of which we've had this season. What we are certain of, Week 10 preview as well. But first and foremost, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at BetUS. If you're looking for a new book this season, BetUS is indeed the answer. We're 10 weeks in. If you're not over at BetUS right now, you're losing money, to be honest with you. Fast and easy withdrawal to process over there on BetUS. And right now, they are matching first-time deposits up to 150%, up to $2,000, and up to 125% on your next two deposits up to $2,000 over there on BetUS. Using YouTube 150. Again, that code is YouTube 150 over there on BetUS. Great time to be over there and great time to be on this network. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribing, rating, reviewing, and definitely going back and watching that Texas A&M LSU film study if you haven't already. Boys, welcome in. And what were your initial thoughts on that Texas A&M football game Saturday night?
I think LSU just kind of sold away the game, it felt like. I mean, you left 9 points on the board due to 3 missed field goals. I think that was really crucial as well. You're up 17-7, but that lead very easily could have been even more than that. But who knows how the game plays out at that point, too. If you go up that many, perhaps Marcel Reed gets plugged into the game plan earlier than what they did, and perhaps that game plays out even differently than it did. But definitely some missed opportunities from LSU's end, and then also you had 3 straight drives that resulted in a turnover, interception, fumble, then an interception again. Texas A&M capitalized on all 3 of them. All of a sudden now it's 28-17, and the game's been turned upside down on its head.
Yeah, that 21-point run was really the ending of the beginning of the end for LSU. It felt like you said, they jumped out to a quick lead, 17-7. It was like, oh, wow, this crowd is having almost no effect on LSU. Their offense is clicking. Garrett Nussmeier looks really good, and then things just kind of went astray there. And then in the back half, Garrett Nussmeier did not look good, especially when A&M was able to get him off platform. I felt like his accuracy went down tremendously when he had to throw on the run or with people at his feet. So A&M's defense was the kind of the star of the show for me. I know Marcel Reed kind of surprised everyone, and people said LSU wasn't ready for it, but A&M's defense was really, really good in this game.
All right, so I'm seeing some comments, and I've been seeing comments about our quality rate, right? 1080p, 480p, all this stuff. I'm looking at both of these pictures. I know it only offers you 480p, but if that ain't 1080p that I'm looking at right now, our picture can't get much clearer. I'm looking at the 4K image right here on the in-house screen. I'm watching the stream right now. Guys, we can't produce much higher quality imaging, can we?
No, I mean, I don't think we changed some things, and so I think we've kind of done what we can. Yeah.
All right. So apologies for that. That being said, don't get fooled by whatever that status says right there. I can't look much clearer. If I look any clearer, I'm gonna have to start putting makeup on. To be honest with you. Okay. So as much as I can say about that, especially when we go to the film, guys, those film recordings you're seeing, those aren't recorded in 1080p anyway. So it's as clear as I can possibly make this imaging around here. So I apologize if it's not perfect, but apart from sitting here in the studio, which we've had listeners come do, this is about as clean as I can make it look for you guys. I think we're a small operation. It's just us 3 in this joint. And I think we do it as well and as high tech as anybody on the internet for as low maintenance as humanly possible. All we need is a graphics department. We're a graphics department short of being the best in the industry in terms of high quality production. You guys already gave me your thoughts. I think it's got to be Marcel Reed for good, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you wouldn't move forward with him at this point, especially knowing what you know now about Connor Wigman against how he looked against Notre Dame and then now how he looks against LSU versus what Marcel Reed provided with your offense. I mean, immediately, as soon as he got plugged into the game.
Even when he got plugged in when Connor was hurt early on in the season, it was like immediately explosive.
Yeah, he looked really good against Florida. That was the first time I was like, oh, they might have something here in the backup. So
yeah. I mean, I even felt that in the bowl game last year.
Do you think maybe it was just that once he got hurt and then once he got healthy, it was we named him the starter, let's continue to honor that. Then you go up and you dub up Missouri, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe we're going to be all right. But then the LSU game kind of forced your hand, but that might have been best case scenario for you if it forced your hand.
You think it could be as simple as they have more money tied into Wigman?
I mean, sure.
it could very well
I think
be that. I mean,
money
that's-
influences all decisions
Nowadays in
Yeah,
college
especially in
football.
college football. I mean,
in life.
Yeah. Amen to that. Amen to that.
but no, I do think Marcel Reed will be the guy here from on out. Or honestly, Connor Weidman's lease gets a lot shorter.
I think the identity for that football team completely changes with Marcel Reed at quarterback as
It
well.
does.
Watching the styles of offense, I felt like with Wigman back there, is it Wigman or Weigman? Wigman?
They
With-
say Wigman.
All right, with
Wigman.
Wigman back there, I felt like A&M's offense was playing on their heels the entire time, where with Marcel Reed, they get to play downhill the entire time. The entire time. And, you know, that's a different brand of football that you have to prepare for when that guy's at quarterback. And the level of physicality and how that program feels to me, it feels more like a downhill, in-your-face football program than a let's have a pocket passer that's going to dissect us. You
Right.
know what I mean? They also don't have quite the weaponry to be out here doing that.
Not quite. No.
Do you think, too, though, that maybe the results you've seen from both quarterbacks have been a little bit skewed? As in, you talked about it with Missouri in that Missouri game. It felt like maybe they prepared for Marcel Reed, and then you throw in Connor Wigman, and then you go to the LSU game. They clearly only prepared for Connor Wigman, and you throw in Marcel Reed. So, like, both of those games, both of those performances kind of skewed because maybe you got the element of surprise, whereas now maybe you don't get that element of surprise anymore.
I don't think they should have gotten it this weekend.
Yeah.
I think that is an error in coaching from the LSU defensive analyst staff point. Like that's in my opinion, that's the defensive coordinator's got enough going on. But somebody on that staff's job should have been being prepared for Marcel Reed.
I mean, we noticed it when Georgia played Texas. As soon as Arch got plugged in, Georgia knew what play was about to be ran.
Yeah.
They ran the same play when he got plugged in against UL Monroe, was it?
Yep.
They knew what was coming, so clearly they had preparation for both quarterbacks because they knew that moment might come.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, like I said, I think that Marcel Reed definitely adds a dynamic, sort of a new wrinkle to this offense, sort of makes Texas A&M feel a little bit faster and a little more dangerous. I think that he has to be the guy from here on out, but honestly, is him kind of being the shoe-in, or not the shoe-in, but the in the bullpen make him more dangerous than just being a flat-out starting quarterback?
Yeah, I don't love the idea in today's day and age of going to Marcel Reed and being like, "Hey, you're our closer, buddy. You're only going to play if Wigman sucks today."
Right.
You know what I mean?
I get that.
I don't think you can do that. But to be honest, I don't think there's a football coach, maybe around college football there's another example of this. But is there another example of a head football coach that did a tremendous job of maintaining his quarterback depth this offseason when it looked like the world was going to be pillaging his roster?
Yeah.
I mean, a head coaching change, he comes in there and not only saves Wigman from transferring, but also saves the backup that we all knew was good. There's no secret about this. That was what was crazy. Everyone knew Marcel Reed was really, really good. We saw it in the bowl game. We saw it in spurts as a spot player last year. I mean, he had a sizable, sample of data in terms of, this is a good college quarterback. And they kept him on the roster. I think, that's an impressive thing, as is being able to keep him involved right now in their offense, because having both these quarterbacks has in my opinion, unquestionably won them 2 football games.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was about to say is without either one of those quarterbacks, your season does not look the same. Both of them have contributed to major wins this season, and both of them have played a major role so far.
All right. Oregon, guys, they continue to control opponents. And I got to thinking about this. You know, they struggle and only beat Idaho by 10.
Mm-hmm.
They only beat Boise State by 3 at home. And then they kind of get into their groove and handle their football team or handle their football schedule. And honestly, I think, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later with Colorado, I think these growing pains for these talented football teams that have brand new pieces, we should almost assume these to happen, right? And that's what we had. We had a football team in Oregon that had a brand new defensive back core, a brand new quarterback, a brand new wide receiver in Evan Stewart, and some new offensive line pieces. And it's like, of course, they're going to go through some growing pains. And right now, you're seeing a football team that's, I don't want to say peaking, but they're moving towards their peak.
Yeah, it's just kind of the trajectory you want to be now. You would like not to have some scares against Idaho and Boise State, but even now, like the Boise State game, they have one of the best players in college football, so that one can almost be excused as well. Of we don't know if we'll play a back like that ever again in college football this season, so that one can almost be excused. But then too, like all coaches talk about, we want to be playing our best football late in the season, and that's what Oregon has done, and that's why that Ohio State game was so important for either team, because whichever team came on the right end of it, you were going to get a boost of momentum, but also you were going to get that boost of confidence that would allow you to continue to peak. Not flatline, not plateau or anything like that, but continue to rise.
Yeah, it feels like when Oregon first started the season, it was kind of like, oh, is this going to be just a disastrous season for Dan Lanning and this team? It seems like they're stumbling right out the gate. And since then, it's just been a steady trajectory. We obviously know how the Ohio State game went. You win that one. And it feels like they really turned a corner after that game where they're playing some of their best football right now. The win that they had against Illinois, I was shocked. I don't want to say shocked just because they were the superior team, but to go out and handle a team that was a quality opponent. Illinois has played some good football at this point in the season. So the way they handled them was very impressive.
They also have gotten past what seems to be their tough stretch of their schedule. They go on the road this week to the Big House. They got to play Michigan, but we all know what Michigan is at this point in the season. We'll preview that one here in a little bit on the National Hour, but they get the rare Week 13 bye. They have a bye Week 13 before they play Washington. Should handle Washington.
Should.
And then you go into the Big Ten. Like they're going to be as primed and as ready to go into that Big Ten championship game as their opponent, far more than their opponent, whoever it's going to be. Penn State's going to be licking their wounds towards the end of the season. Ohio State's going to be coming fresh off of a battle against Michigan. Like,
The only thing that would concern me then at that point as an Oregon fan
or Indiana, sorry to sleep on the Hoosiers,
is kind of maybe applying this to what postseason baseball has turned into. Of you don't want to have any of these lulls. You just want to continue playing. You want to continue to grow and have to, like, I shouldn't say stumble, but have to continue to march your way through, not just coast or like have an off week and then have to ramp it all the way back up again when the team you're facing in conference championship week. They've been going at it and taking swings every single week.
am I banged up?
I don't know.
Because
That's
if
the
I'm
thing.
banged up, I want that cakewalk.
Oh, for sure.
I want that
Absolutely.
cakewalk to the Big Ten championship game.
Absolutely.
If I'm not confident in how we're playing, I kind of
Yeah,
want
and
some
neither
more
one of those
tests.
are a concern for Oregon
No.
right now.
I think they have an ideal situation right now going into the Big Ten championship game when you look at it on paper. Not so much for Penn State, who I'll let you guys open with this, man. What did you think about this with the 28-13 win over Wisconsin
I mean, they beat Wisconsin. They're undefeated still. Like
with a backup Q?
That's right. Like it's one of these things where watching a Penn State team, it's like, okay, they should have stumbled by now, and the fact that they just keep going, everyone's kind of sitting back waiting. Is this going to be the week it all comes crumbling down? And obviously, they'll have Ohio State upcoming this weekend, so that'll be the real test for them. But it just feels like Penn State's one of these teams where it's like, yeah, you're undefeated. Yeah, you're the third-ranked team in the country. Yeah, you're here. You deserve to be where you are, but are you on par with all the other programs that are around you? And it's just kind of a wait-and-see thing for me. And this game felt very much like that. Like, they looked kind of flat out the gate. They leaned on them towards the end. And then other than that, like there wasn't a lot that made me say, oh, Penn State is legit this year.
I think there was a lot that made me want to give their offensive coordinator some flowers.
For sure.
You get a backup coming in, first time really playing all season long because they haven't handled their business against the opponents that they should have, apart from Kent State. Okay, so you got a guy in Prisbula that comes off the bench and goes 11 for 13. I mean, granted, it wasn't like 11 for 13 for 250. It was 11 for 13 for 98 yards and a touchdown, but he moved the football. And more importantly, the offensive coordinator designed winners to where, hey, here's the primary read. When your primary read's open all the time, I know your coordinator's cooking. So I was impressed with the coordinator's ability to go in there and have that guy execute really, really well in a critical situation on the road.
It's hard for me to see Penn State any differently than I have over the last 4 years.
Exactly.
And you know what? If Penn State goes in this weekend and they beat Ohio State, you can laugh at me, you can point your finger at me, you can dunk on me, you can do all that fun stuff. But I just continue feeling this stance of, yeah, Penn State, good football team. Penn State, top 15 team. Penn State, not a top 5 team. Penn State, not an elite football team. You're a good football team. Nothing wrong with being a good football team anymore, especially with an expanded playoff. But nothing to me this season has screamed off the chart of, oh, yeah, you got to watch out for the Nittany Lions out of the Big Ten.
Did you see the clip of Drew Aller leaving the game?
I did not see
No,
this.
I didn't.
So he's walking out of the game, and Twitter says it was a Penn State fan. I don't know. I don't know this to be true. But Twitter says a Penn State fan started chirping Drew Aller, and there's a video of him turning around, looking at that person and saying, "Who the F are you? Sit down and shut up."
Giving him the business.
Giving him the business, talking a little shit on the way out with a knee injury, a banged-up knee. Day-to-day, going to be a game-time decision, so says James Franklin against Ohio State this weekend.
Okay.
That's big.
Either way, mobility probably going to be suspect. I mean, not a burner by any stretch of the means anyways.
His game isn't predicated on how he can run. But
No.
being a statue is definitely a problem when you have a knee injury.
Vanderbilt.
Isn't
it crazy? We're at the point where we're like, Texas survives Vandy.
Not only survives,
like
but,
Vandy's the team.
Like Texas gets a fight against Vandy. It wasn't like Texas came in and just kind of played their worst game. Like
I
Vanderbilt,
felt like Texas gave Vandy every opportunity to win that football
They-
game.
100%.
they did, but Vanderbilt usually doesn't take advantage of said opportunities like we've seen in the past. So
Not prior to 2024.
correct.
But this football team normally goes out and wins those games this year. I mean, they gave them 4 opportunities down a score in the fourth quarter to go win.
I think the thing, too, is from what I have seen after that football game is Texas fans feel like their team played well. Like the defense, they felt like the team played well. They felt like Quinn Ewers played well. He had 2 interceptions if you're looking at the box score. One of those was a tip pass, and we know the rule there. You're never blaming that one on the quarterback. So you played well, or at least you feel like you played well. Vanderbilt was in that football game, so it just continues to solidify this thought of Vanderbilt is one of these teams. They're a team that you don't want to see on the schedule.
I got a couple of thoughts on how this game wrapped up in just terms of the interaction, but let's continue to talk about the game in and of itself. Pavia scrambling late there. Texas's defense standing up and showing what we saw against Georgia. It's like this is a really good defense.
100%. And I think you too saw a moment in that last position with Pavia, you also saw why Vanderbilt is not one of these elite teams, because your quarterback threw up just a prayer. I mean, an absolute 50-50 ball in a situation where you couldn't afford that.
Now, to be fair, it was 4th down.
No, I agree, but it and maybe you got put in a circumstance that you wouldn't have wished you had been in.
Vanderbilt's problem is they'll never succeed if they have to play from behind.
Yeah.
They're a team
offense.
where they have to surprise you, kind of get a lead, or stay in maintaining a game where they're not in a situation where, okay, we've got to push the ball down the field and do it quickly, because they're not going to succeed doing that.
1-score leads are manageable. Any type of 2-score deficit is something that Vandy's rarely going to come back from with their style of offense.
Right.
Yeah, they're just not the team that's going to be able. All right, I know this wasn't the situation, but all right, we got 1 minute drill right here. Got to push the ball down with no timeouts left. That's not their style of offense.
All right, so I tweeted my video yesterday about Texas's offense having a real problem arising. And it's true. Like, they're having a real problem in SEC play consistently running the football. And when you have a problem consistently running the football and your pass game is predicated off of play action, and teams are able to just play off of you the entire time while also knowing they have the facilities to stop you in the run game, then you're going to have major problems. And we've seen their yards per attempt drastically drop this season. They're 18th on the year, all right, in yards per pass attempt, and they're 121st over the last 4 football games. Tells you prior to the SEC slate, they were getting behind guys, and they were able to throw the football, and they were able to run the ball, and they were able to play complementary football, and they were able to do this. And then The SEC slate starts, and they can't run the ball. And then I tweet that out, and I got Texas fans in the mentions saying, well, this guy clearly didn't watch the football game because all those offensive drives got negated by holding penalties, and we just got to clean that up. Buddy, you run a wide zone rushing attack. And I know Kirby knows this. I asked Jonathan this pregame. Do you know what the number one penalty called against wide zone football teams is? Holding. Do you know why? Because they're out on the edge constantly, all right? And all it takes is a defensive end to get a little bit over the top of a tackle, one little tug of the jersey, and guess what? The referee's eyes are watching that the whole entire time because that's the point of the attack. That's where the ball's going. So their eyes are there the entire time. Holding happens on 95% of plays in football, but it happens in the box where you can't really see it. And when you get beat as a tackle or a tight end or a guard or whatever it is, on the outside in wide zone, and a guy starts to creep over the top of you and you fail to seal him, and you call or you hold, that's an easy call for that referee. So here's what's happening. Teams are setting the edge and playing this wide zone way better in SEC play than they were prior. So yes, you're getting more calls against holds, or you're getting more holding calls because more tackles are getting beat over the top against these SEC defenses. So this is something that's going to continue until they have an ability to establish this run game, guys. And the other one, like Sark was asked about the average depth of target and said, Sark, what's going on here? And Sark's answer was, well, when we come out to the field, DBs are playing way off of us right now. So why don't y'all tell them to scoot up? Coach, why don't you run the football and make them scoot up? Why don't we find ways to run the ball and make them scoot up? They're not just going to scoot up because you asked them to. Like this is a problem for Texas right now, I think.
I mean, of their last 10 runs against Vanderbilt, 6 of them went for 1 yard or less.
Can't do it.
And the last 4 possessions of the game, they averaged 1.22 yards per carry. And this is at a point in the game where you're trying to put the game away. You do that by running the football. You can't, and that's why Vanderbilt was able to stay in that football game and why you continue to give them opportunities to tie it up, take a lead, and remain in a position to where they were still in the mix of this football game because you could not establish a run game when you absolutely had to.
Yeah, and I think this is honestly just kind of a product of you're getting into the thick of your SEC schedule now. Like, Texas kind of had the advantage of, okay, we didn't really have to play any SEC teams the first 4 weeks. Then the first SEC team we played was Mississippi State. No offense to Mississippi State, that's not exactly a good example of what SEC football is. Then you played Oklahoma. Yes, they're in the SEC, but it's also their first year in the SEC, so it's essentially a Big 12 roster. You immediately go to Georgia, which is the cream of the crop when it comes to SEC defenses. So you've got Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and then A&M. Like, they're going to get a better taste as to what the physicality and grind in and grind out process of the SEC is. And I think that, honestly, there's more losses on the schedule for them.
I think this discussion obviously sounds totally different if Cedric Baxter is healthy and in that running back room. We talked about it before the show. I think this is it's still solid. I think Jaden Blue and 26 are still really, really good football players, and the freshman from IMG is really, really good as well. But, like, this is the worst running back room he's had in probably a decade. Like, he went from Najee Harris to Bijan Robinson to number 2 last year, who's an NFL back, and Cedric Baxter as a freshman to now this. Like, this is a drastic drop-off. And they've seen as they get into the thick of, like you said, the SEC schedule, they're struggling to run the football.
Yeah, and it's not a great feeling knowing that when you have a team like Texas A&M looming on the schedule. Very last game, it's at Texas A&M, and that's a defense that has proven they'll shut down the run and they can defend the pass pretty well too as well.
Yeah,
Who you got in that game right now? I said on Sunday, if I had to pick it today, I'm taking A&M by 10, maybe 14 points.
I would lean A&M right now. I don't know if I could put a score on it.
Yeah,
I don't know. 14's a little rich for me.
Given what I've seen right now, A&M has the defense that's physical enough to stop Texas's run game and cause their problems for Quinn Ewers. It's a toss-up at this point. I mean, there's still so many games have to be played and so many developments have to occur. So,
Miami pulled out the bully card this weekend.
Hey, they should have pulled it out even more though. That's the thing is they settled for field goals constantly down the stretch.
Well, 40 rushing attempts in this football game as well. I think they were trying to set the tone, if you will, in this football game for sure.
Why do you sound so discouraged?
He's a Miami hater. I think he's leaning in, and I'm here for it. So go ahead, hate on it, rain on that parade.
I need to ask a favor of you,
please,
because, and I probably shouldn't have done this before we went on air, but I'm very desperate right now.
Desperate?
I am in a very
down bad.
desperate spot. I thought that my hex would be enough to stop this Miami team. So
You know what we need?
I'm gonna ask you a favor.
Yep.
Can you please talk about how unstoppable Cam Ward
Yep.
is and how this Miami offense
Yep.
is
So here's what we
unbeatable?
might have to do. We might have to break down Miami's offense.
Please do.
And that's instant. They're scoring 25 points this weekend. Instant.
Thank you.
I've done it to DeBoer twice. So maybe I just need to go get Cam Ward in the bunch.
Just go
and
out
the
there and
boys.
say, look at this. I don't know how you stop him. I don't know what anyone can do. There's no one on the schedule that can stop this offense. Please, you're my last hope.
And you know what? I'm not exactly fully on board of this Miami hate train, at least as much as you are, but I am on board of this Ashton Genty deserves a Heisman. So I'm on board with this in the sense of Ashton Genty would become the front runner along with Travis Hunter, completely take Cam Ward out of the conversation.
Everyone
and we
wins.
got two respectable finalists in the mix for this
Everyone
thing.
wins. Everyone wins if this
All right,
happens.
so we'll do a Florida preview this week, and then we'll hex Miami.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
That
Thank
sound
you.
like a plan? What you got?
Michigan quarterback Jack Tuttle has retired from football.
Dude.
Ooh.
They're down to 2 on that roster now, aren't they?
These concussions are getting scary, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate.
I think it's also people realizing
At a
that.
position where they're supposed to be protected.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
protected more than anybody.
Well, I think it's also. Nah, I won't go there.
Come on.
Just the career longevity. Like, what's the outlook of me doing this? Am I going to play this sport for another 5 years?
Probably not.
Exactly. So.
I mean, this is the third quarterback in 12 months we've seen to do this.
Mhm.
JT Daniels, Grayson McCall,
Yep.
and Jack Tuttle.
It's unfortunate.
I don't think there's any way to. It's just a byproduct of the sport, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you
sucks.
take an oath to when you play the sport that you're going to at some point injure yourself.
The difference is nowadays guys know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they know what they're signing up for. Used to, like, I used to get so frustrated because when I was in college, that whole concussion movie came out, and Will Smith and all this, and like most people were telling football players, you know what you signed up for. Prior to like 2015, 2013, I don't think we did.
Right.
I don't think we did. I don't think we knew what we were putting ourselves at risk for. And I'm not saying like football's bad or anything like that. It's just I think nowadays we have a little bit more knowledge about what the situation is.
And I guess the best news is that they're trying. I mean, they're trying to obviously you can't completely make them go away, but they're trying to make it better, and they're trying to make them less common.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's also it's the nature of the beast.
All right, speaking of this Miami game, I noticed a weird little thing going on, and it's not weird because they're college football fans, but this whole nana boo-boo, look at my program versus look at yours that's going on right now with Miami and Florida State, to which I ask you, audience as well, what is keeping Miami from being Florida State next year?
Nothing at all.
Not a thing.
Not a daggum thing.
Belief in your program.
And
belief
this
in
was
your
my
coach.
thing, because I'm sure you saw the same thing I saw. I see Miami fans on Twitter today posting the screenshot. Everybody loves the recruiting rankings screenshot of the team rankings, and it's Miami's undefeated right now. Look where Florida State and Florida are in the recruiting ranks. They're bottom 50. Sky's the limit for the Miami Hurricanes right now. And I wanted to say Florida State was doing this no less than 12 months ago.
No.
They were the ones saying, we're undefeated. The other two programs are down bad. It's our time. Now they're 1-7.
All it takes is one bad batch of groceries.
Oh,
That's it. One bad batch of groceries. Both of these teams are, well, Miami has recruited on the NIL front a little bit better, even before the success, than Florida State is currently doing. They're recruiting a little bit better and more sustainable in terms of success. So maybe they don't have to turn around their roster as much via the portal as Florida State had to this offseason. But they're going to have to go buy a new quarterback.
Yep.
They're going to have to go buy a new quarterback. Restrepo's gone. You know, they're going to have to buy a new running back, you know, to pair with Fletcher. Fletcher's a young football player, but Martinez is gone. Like, they've got a bunch of we got to go replace in the portal as well. So I would be careful with this whole nana boo-boo, look how shit your roster is.
I mean, I feel like we've heard this multiple times from all three fan bases. Florida felt like they were in this position not too long ago in 2020 of, oh, look at us. We're running the SEC. Recruiting's kind of picking up now. saw how that ended up. I mean, it's just a revolving door down there in the Sunshine State.
Yeah, it's weird though. I will say, to the national media's credit, it felt like last year very much. It was, hey, the Noles are back. They're back on top of the college football world. Mike Norvell has this program where everyone thinks it should be, where everyone believes it can be. You're not getting this kind of talk as much from the national media with Miami. Of course, you're getting it with Miami fans because they want Miami to be good and they truly believe in their team. But there's not as much national media saying, hey, Miami's back. The U is back to what it used to be. Like they're here to stay. It's very much, they're having a great season. Wow, Cam Ward's playing incredible, but no one's really talking about how the outlook for this program is really great.
I'll tell you what Miami is doing right now. They're cleaning house in the state of Florida in terms of recruiting. So, and they're really the only school right now they're battling for in terms of in-state grounds on a consistent basis, believe it or not, is UCF.
Oh.
Yeah. Because Florida State's not doing it. Obviously, Florida's not recruiting very well right now. So, yeah, they're having an opportunity to do exactly what you need to do, which is clean sweep in the state of Florida right now, apart from the 5 stars, because you know you're going to have competition there, right? Everybody coming into the state like LSU, Oregon, Alabama, Texas, all right? Florida only has one of the top 10 players in the state of Florida committed to them, and it's Vernell Brown, the wide receiver right now, who is very, very highly sought after in terms of a flip commit for a lot of schools. So Miami's doing a little bit better job, but you know, they're going to be back in the portal. Mm-hmm. That's what's a little bit concerning. And it doesn't matter as long as you maximize what you did, right? As long as you go on to win a national title or at least compete for one, your fan base isn't going to be upset next year if you're 7-5. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't do what Ole Miss is doing right now. You can't blow the wad.
I guess the best thing for Miami is you're not getting left out of the playoff if you're undefeated. You don't have to worry about that like Florida State did.
Very true.
That's a good point right there. Guys, BYU looks legit, man. BYU, I said this before the show. BYU this year is what everyone told me Utah's supposed to be every year.
Yeah, we kind of thought it was just going to come in, hey, Utah is just going to kind of physically lean on these inferior teams. They're just going to handle everyone. They might stumble a couple times here. I think the highest win prediction for any team in the Big 12 preseason was 9-3. So, I mean, no one really expected a undefeated season from any of these guys, but BYU is doing exactly what everyone thought Utah was going to be doing.
I mean, the disrespect going into this matchup, the absolute audacity to have these guys as the underdog coming into this game.
Crazy.
Daggum shame. So I'm glad that BYU did what they were supposed to. They handled business and that they continue to. And I'm glad that we are able to talk about this and that we have somebody out of the Big 12 right now that is like, you know what? They look like a competitive football team. They look like they might be able to give somebody a run on any given Saturday. Because our biggest fear coming into the expanded playoff was, well, yeah, it's going to be the SEC and the Big 10, and then we'll see what happens in the ACC Big 12. I mean, just go ahead and flush it down the toilet right now. It doesn't matter who comes out of that. BYU at least is putting up a fight, and it's like, you know what? I'm okay if BYU is the representative.
And they play – the reason I comped them to Utah is because for years Utah was the prime example of they play complementary football, right? They just win games the way that it's required to win that day. BYU has games of 300 yards passing and games of 250 yards rushing. BYU is a defense that does not allow stupid shit to happen. They're top 40 in explosives allowed, which means they don't allow busted coverages and they don't miss tackles. They just play really clean, complementary football, and that's what is required year in, year out to win conferences like the Big 12. And I think that's why everyone thought Utah was going to be the perennial pick. Let's just select Utah every year because they're going to go through the Big 12 and do what it takes week in, week out to win those types of games.
Well, I mean, that conference has been lacking consistency from a top team for such a long time. I mean, heck, even when Oklahoma was good, they were not a consistent football team. So this is kind of the first instance where they have a team kind of running the conference. They're at the top, but they're being consistent. They're consistently playing good football, and it's very much so a first for that conference.
Yeah, respect to them for kind of being the rock of that conference right now.
Shout out to the BYU. Notre Dame, shame on you. Notre Shame is what I'm calling
They're doing it
today.
They're doing it.
Notre Shame.
They're Notre Daming. It's the perfect circle. I posted a graph on Twitter. It happens every year where they get a high ranking. People say it's overrated. They suffer the loss, and everyone goes, "We knew they were overrated. We can finally write them off." And then the next 8 or 9 weeks of the season go by, and they just keep stacking up win after win against quality opponents, and they'll be a playoff team.
I will say this. Notre Dame shut up one of the more annoying vocal groups on social media in terms of the football world.
Who was that?
Oh, there's nobody I dislike more than Mr. Option Football. Mr. Option Football
man.
is the worst guy on social media. He's the worst. He's worse than CrossFit Guy. He's worse than who are some of these other cultish types of personalities. He's the worst. Mr. Option Football Guy is the worst. Oh, I can, because I won one game as the under-talented football team. This is just the way to go. This is the way to win football games. Old school. Option football will never die. Option football been dead. Option football been dead since good athletes have been allowed to play defense, to be honest with you. If I can run and I'm big, tall, and long, I can shut down the option, period, point blank. And this was another proof of that. The moment you get an option football team that is outmatched talent-wise, they're screwed. They're screwed. If they got big, long, fast guys, you can't play it. So stop. Option football nerd guy. The worst.
Are they in the group with people like sacks are the most important defensive stat?
No, because Mr. Sack guy is just wrong, you know? and there's ways to show him that he's wrong.
Yeah.
But every time Navy plays one of these games close, option football guy's like, see, I told you. Option football never dies.
Wasn't close, though.
No, it wasn't.
That was a big 180 on the troops. I thought we were going to come here and kind of respectfully lay to rest.
I mean, I lambasted Notre Dame for shamefully embarrassing the troops, and shame on them for doing so. But the only thing that gives me solace is the fact that it was an option football team.
I did get a concern when he said they shut up the most annoying people.
I was like, the
space.
troops?
I was like, whoa.
The troops?
Easy now.
Oh, no. Thank you for your service. Just run some spread football every once in a while. And they're trying. That's my favorite part about these option teams that get really good. The only reason they're really good is because they actually conform to spread concepts. Mm-hmm. Like this Navy team's good because they can actually throw the football. They're the first option team to ever try it, I guess. And it was like, ooh, option. No.
Do you feel this way about RPOs?
No, it's different. It's very different. It's a version of the option, but it's a read option, not a wing T triple option.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Honestly, if you're going to do it the way Coastal did in 2020. I'm good with that. Like you're actually throwing it 20 times a game out of the option. I'm good with you doing that. And it's shotgun pistol option. Like, okay, we're at least trying to be fun. But this we're going to run the wing T in 2024. Stop. Glad I got that take off.
I was,
you know?
We're just gonna let. I was just.
I
like,
can see the weight lifted off your
you know,
shoulder.
I wanted this to be more about how I felt.
I
bad
feel
about the troops
relieved,
also.
honestly.
I'm glad
I feel
you're able to
relieved.
get that off.
Yeah. Shout out to BYU. Shout out to Notre Dame. Can Indiana win the Big Ten?
It looks more and more like it every day, especially with Ohio State.
I love
my thought
entertaining
process
it.
on this. Yes or no? Indiana is playing more consistently good football than Penn State.
Yes.
Yes or no? Indiana is consistently playing good football more than Ohio State.
Yes.
Look, if you're judging it off consistency, absolutely Indiana can win the Big Ten. I think the problem is that Indiana's baseline game or Ohio State's best game is twice as good as Indiana's best game, in my opinion. Like that's just the talent level is where it is. The consistency is where you can get them. If Indiana comes out and just plays the consistent game that they've played for the last 9 weeks, and Ohio State looks kind of sluggish like they did against Nebraska, absolutely Indiana could be a real problem. If Ohio State comes out and they're ready for a game and they're prepared and they're fired up, I don't know.
I'm gonna give them the same treatment in a sense I gave to Penn State. They hadn't had to play to Oregon, Ohio State, or Penn State yet. So look. I love riding the Hoosier
Ain't
train
played
right
nobody,
now.
Paul.
They haven't just yet. And look, hey, Hoosiers, I love your movie. I love you right now. You're a fun football team. I love everything about you, but you got to stay realistic. You got to stay consistent with the takes. So great. The Hoosiers are a fun football team to watch on Saturdays, and they are certainly a competitive football team. Do I think that they could beat Ohio State or Penn State? I think it's definitely possible. I think they're well coached. I think they have a great offense right now. They're being consistent offensively, and they're proving that they can score points and run it up when they need to. So I think they're doing all the right things, and I think that they are very much so in a position where, yeah, they certainly could win the Big Ten.
All right, I know Jonathan watches everything we do, including the Sunday show. I don't know this about you. How would you describe or define the it factor?
I would describe the it factor. It's not really something you can measure. It's not really something that you can put metrics on or stats on. It's honestly, I know it when I see it thing.
Okay, so here's how I described it yesterday. I feel as if the it factor is measured by whether or not you can walk into a room, situation, huddle, whatever it is, and make everyone around you instantly better.
Yeah,
That's the it factor.
that's a good one.
For an undetermined reason, but you get everyone else around you to play or perform above their pay grade. That's the it factor. I think Cignetti has it in spades. Spades. Like, he's got tons of it. Everywhere he goes, guys play above their pay grade.
Mm-hmm.
And Indiana right now is the definition of that more than anybody else in college football.
Yeah, they're definitely the team that's exceeded expectations the most. So.
And consistently doing it every single week. I think that's what it looks like on display. We take what we've got and we maximize it to the nth degree.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly have an upper leg on some of these other teams in the Big Ten. Like, your win against Nebraska looks great knowing what they just did to Ohio State. Like, the fact that you walked in there and you handled them, and that game was never in question whatsoever. They're doing, like I said, they're doing all the right things. They're making people believers in them, and they have themselves in a position where people could see a scenario where they beat one of the top teams in the Big Ten.
All right, let's move on. Bama get-right game. Needed it bad.
Yeah.
Needed it bad.
What did you think of Kalen putting in starters on that 4th and goal?
Good on you. Good on you.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I don't have a problem with it.
We've been asking that guy to coach with an edge.
Right, and I don't have
for 7 weeks now.
I don't have a problem with it from a morality standpoint or from that's classist or anything like that. Like, win the game. My thing was, like, you just kind of basically said, and I get it that, like, I don't know, it seemed like desperation for me in a way of, like, we need to get this stop. Let's put our starters back in so we can get this 4th and goal stop. Let's not trust the guys that we have on the field right now. We absolutely need it. I don't know.
I think it was more of we're here to make a statement.
Yeah, it definitely was.
In-house.
For sure.
The statement in the game was already made. You're winning the football game.
Right.
I think it was an in-house statement. We're not letting anybody in our end zone today.
Yeah.
We're going to play a tough brand of football.
I don't have a problem with it. It just felt weird to me.
I felt like it was more of a statement.
Mm-hmm.
That program, honestly, that coaching staff needs to do something.
Yeah.
They need some type of statement.
That's fine.
And this was it. I think this was a statement win for them.
Yeah, and we kind of came into this week thinking, like, this is probably the get-right game.
Vegas sure as shit did.
Yeah, everyone was super low. 13.5 is way too high. It's way too much. It just felt like Bama was going to turn it around at some point, and they
Chat's
did.
got a good point. What if the players came up to DeBoer and asked to get back in?
Then no problem with it at all.
You absolutely do.
I don't have a
you are
problem
a
either
play.
way.
Yeah,
I think it was a statement moment.
yeah, and it is.
Damn, that Missouri offense is bad.
Bad, especially with
Missouri is bad.
Yeah, Missouri's bad.
Yeah, especially with that back.
Missouri is bad in general.
They're still ranked.
Yeah, I'm quitting the drink for good. I mean, I've been sober almost 2 years now, and I'm quitting the drink for good. We're out on this one.
I'm gonna save my take for Missouri for the next segment.
Yeah, I'm 100% out.
I'll let everybody know what I do know about Missouri.
Let's talk Colorado.
Oh man,
Finally ranked.
Whoa.
For a reason. What?
I was gonna say this is one of the first times in a while where Colorado was on the notes, and I was like, I'm kind of excited to talk about Colorado. I'm looking forward to this. Sometimes it's been like, dang,
it's like, damn,
here we are again.
It's the off season. We got to talk about what
back up
Deion
on the
said at
show
a presser
notes,
again
baby.
because there's nothing else going on.
Let's
Shit,
scrummage
man,
up the emotions.
Don't give away too many secrets. Yeah, Deion, good time filler in the offseason, and now we got a reason to talk about him in season. So thank you for that.
I mean, look, they deserve the credit because I fully expected them to once again flop this year, especially when they started out hot. And people were kind of starting to jump back on that wagon. People were kind of really ready to pump up the Deion and the Colorado talk. Then it just kind of plateaued, and nobody really discussed it anymore. And I think everybody was holding out because nobody wanted to do what they did last year of you jump on way too early and then, oh, man, now I'm stuck on this position. I'm stuck on this side. I got to defend it with my life. And I may not even necessarily believe it anymore. Whereas now they're playing like how they should in the sense of Travis Hunter is the best player in college football. You're using him like he's the best player in college football. He's doing what the best player in college football does. Shadur is playing really good football. And you're continuing to do the things of what it takes to win consistently in college football and finding ways to win, more importantly.
Yeah, it feels weird to me because we talked about at the start of the season how there were still a couple of media members that were like, hey, Deion could really turn it around this year. Is Colorado going to make the playoff? And it was like, guys, pump the brakes. This is a 4-win team last year. Those analysts and those people that are on the hype train have kind of been vindicated, and you don't hear them kind of walking around, marching around saying, I told you so as much. It's very interesting how for as loud and for as obnoxious as the media was about Colorado last season, they've been extremely quiet on them this year.
Yeah, I have a theory on that.
Do you want to share it? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the theory. The views, the clicks, and the audience retention rate when talking Colorado is a whole hell of a lot better when you're making fun of them than it is when you're talking about how good they are. Period. They led for ESPN First Take last year with Deion Sanders in Colorado every time they lost. They'd spend 40 minutes talking about what's going wrong with Colorado. And now they're nowhere to be talked about except for when Stephen A. Smith says that Alabama should have hired him. That's it. Like, that's the only time we talk about this team nowadays is when Stephen A. Smith says something crazy. But you're right. There's no walking around taking victory laps on, I told you Colorado was going to be good. You know what I mean? But I do think there is and I can see it from our chat right now. Our chat right now is already in the, hey, man, they ain't playing nobody. Like, this doesn't count. Like, they're discrediting the wins already. And, like, I just think it's easier and more fun to talk about Colorado being bad than it is to talk about them being good.
Yeah, and I guess I have such PTSD from the first 3 or 4 weeks of the 2023 season.
And you should.
Where it was like, oh my God, is Deion Sanders the best coach ever? Like, should he be the – I mean, it was so inundating.
They beat TCU and people were talking about this guy taking over the Cowboys job.
Right.
There were graphics of him with Nick Saban and Kirby Smart saying, who's the best coach? I think people forget that stuff.
Yeah.
That was a real thing.
That was tough. And now it feels like this year you actually have that team that is more likely to be compared to and talked about how great it is, and they're just not doing it as much.
Here's where I think Colorado, or what's going right for Colorado this year, in the sense of media coverage and maybe why there's this absence of maybe discussion points about them, is all of the attention on them is being allocated in the right spots. Of Shedeur Sanders is a bright spot on that football team. Shedeur Sanders is a good football player. Travis Hunter is a star of the show, and he should be treated as such. He's leading the Heisman right now because he's doing the things necessary to win the Heisman.
Playing every snap of the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing everything, and that's what's fun about Colorado, and that's the things that should be praised about Colorado and Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders is those two guys are playing well. Those two guys are why this team is good. What kind of got clouded last year when everything else was being discussed of, we're filming practices and we got Deion talking about we need to fight and practice and I want to see that, and then other things like that.
Kelly Dalton finally said it in the chat, and I think this speaks for a lot of people, and I'm glad he or she actually came to the point and said it. I just hate Deion's arrogance, not Colorado itself. I just want to see Prime lose. And that's the reality for a lot of people watching Colorado football.
Yeah.
You don't like his arrogance. You don't like, and sometimes to an extent, I don't either. I think he overextends his boundaries to an extent.
Sure.
But that's what it is. That's why we're in the situation where we are.
And I think a lot of the reason why you're seeing people not as hateful towards Colorado this year is it feels very much like the 2024 Colorado team is centered around Travis Hunter is an amazing player. What he's doing is generational. You're probably never going to see it again. Shedeur Sanders is a really good quarterback, stuff like that. Whereas last year it felt very much like, look at what Deion has done. It was more about Deion than it was about the players.
Yes.
And so this year, the fact that the focus has been on Travis and Shedeur, and let's be honest, they're fairly likable figures in college football. You'd be hard-pressed to find people who genuinely don't like Travis Hunter or have a legitimate reason to not like him. So
the people that do attach Deion's stain to him.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. What we are certain of at this point in the college football season, boys, who wants to start?
I can start it.
Come on.
I am certain that
Give me the Mizzou take.
Eli Drinkowitz was in the right in printing the bowl-bound T-shirts.
Ooh.
Because that's all your football team was good enough for this year.
Oh!
Was just making a bowl game. All the playoff talk was hoopla, was some straight BS.
Cookies,
and I
right.
sniffed the BS in the offseason when I said this is not a playoff team. This team is going to flop like no other, and we're going to be talking about it midseason when this team is no longer in the playoff discussion. And everything else is just piling up on it of why I shouldn't believe in Missouri, why I maybe didn't believe in you in the offseason. Of you're talking smack to Alabama football players, stay in your lane. Like, why are we doing all this extra business? And I think this also ties into what you did last year when you played Tennessee, and we said we stood on business, Josh. You're stepping outside of your boundaries, Eli. That's not your lane. Stay in your lane. So you were right in printing those T-shirts because 6 wins, that should have been the mark for your football team, not a college football playoff spot.
Dang, I did not
Let
expect.
him cook.
I did not expect a crucifixion on air tonight. That was insane. I will say, Jay Will was absolutely the number one guy on this show that was like, I'm not buying Missouri at all.
Can't do it.
I think you and me were both kind of like, let's see.
But the schedule's shit, Jay Will.
Yeah, the schedule's not good. They just got to get through Bama.
They return everybody offensively. They've done some good work in the transfer portal defensively.
We were like, let's wait and see. Jay Will sniffed that out for sure. So
I say it with a grin on my face, but I do still kind of like Eli as a coach.
Stop.
But I just
listen.
Stop.
You had
listen,
it.
listen.
You had him.
Listen. God dang it. Let me finish. All right. I like him in the sense of when he's a good football. I like him as an 8-4 football coach. When you're just kind of doing the right things at Missouri, but when you're stepping outside of your lane and like I said, you were right in printing the bowl bound T-shirts because that's what you should have been doing in the first place.
That's fair. I like that one. I'm certain Vanderbilt's a top 25 team.
Hell yeah.
They're not ranked. They're not going to be this week. They probably won't be after next week, depending on what they do. But judging on what I've seen from them, they're physical enough to play with anyone. They have an offensive scheme that limits possessions and can create problems. We've seen that as much through enough games. And they have a fire to them that you have never seen from a Vanderbilt team. So that is absolutely a top 25 team. I don't care what the rankings are.
I know for a fact that not only is FSU horrible this year, but their road down towards the future looks ultimately glim.
Yeah.
Luke Romanoke. No. Yeah, Luke Romanoke didn't look good in his appearance this past weekend, but more importantly than that, not only have they shown an inability to consistently pick winners out of the portal, but they have shown a complete inability to develop the recruits that they have ultimately landed. I think what's going on with Hakeem Williams right now is a prime example of that. Hakeem Williams has not gotten any better, in my opinion. In fact, I would argue maybe he's gotten worse in the last 2 years at Florida State. Did you know that they signed 10 blue chip prospects in the 2023 class, one of which is starting right now?
Ooh,
they only have one player on their 2023 class that is starting for this football team. Nobody from their 2024 class making any movements in terms of making impacts on this roster right now. So they're buying bad groceries. They're not developing the groceries that they have, and they're signed with this current coach until 2031. This is not good, boys.
Yeah, it's not a great future if you're a Florida State fan, for sure. I know one thing, and I've kind of waited to give this take, but I feel very safe in doing it. Defenses are back in college football. We had kind of that period from 2017 to the early 2020s where it was like, if you don't have a top 5 offense, if you can't score 40 points a game, you're not going to win. You can't defense your way to a national title. I think more than ever, you have more teams doing it this year. Georgia's kind of doing it. Texas A&M's doing it. Tennessee, Texas, Ohio State. Now, granted, they all have competent offenses. They all have dangerous offenses. But I wouldn't say that these are otherworldly, extremely dangerous offenses. And to add to that, there's not really a super dynamic offense this year at the top of the sport, with the exception of maybe Miami. And everyone has questions about them, where it's like, oh, my God, that is a terrifying offense. I don't know how you stop it. So I think
you can't put Oregon in that mix because they've shown an ability to turn it over in the red zone.
Right.
But if Oregon didn't have red zone turnovers right now, they'd be in this mix.
Oregon, I think, is the most complete team, but they also Dan Lanning is a defensive-minded coach, and that'll, in my opinion, always be a defense-first team. So
that's fair.
That's kind of where I'm going at with this, where 5 years ago, if you just said, hey, we're going to be a defense-first team, we're going to really play hard-nosed defense, and we're just going to score 30 to 40 points a game.
2019 Georgia.
Right. People are like, you can't do that. I think more than ever, that narrative has changed.
I think this applies to every single conference in college football right now. There's no such thing as gimme games in any conference right now.
Fair.
We've seen top teams in every single conference go head to toe on the line, 4-quarter football game against a team that maybe you were favored 24 points against, and you had to go all the way down to the clock hit 0 to finally take a breath and say, "Ooh, we escaped that one." Or even you might have been Alabama and lose to Vandy on the road. Like, there's been instances of this in every single conference. I think this plays into the role of what the transfer portal has ultimately done to college football, of kind of evening out the playing field and just the ultimate climate that we are in right now. But there really isn't such thing as just, oh, that's a gimme game for you.
Yeah, I mean, it rolls into mine. I mean, we know parity's here to stay. As long as the player acquisition strategies look like they do right now, we are here for college football parity. As long as Kentucky has the ability to go take Georgia's third best linebacker and make them their first best linebacker, talent discrepancies are going to shrink. There's no doubt about this, and it's happening left and right across college football, and I think it's good for college football. It's not good for the depth of these programs come week 12 and 13 of a college football season, but in terms of evenly matched football teams, any given Saturday type vibes, we're moving into that for sure. What else do we know?
I know for a fact now that Jimbo Fisher was the problem at Texas A&M.
Ooh.
I mean,
Was he ever?
The recruiting classes that he assembled, combined with the fact of the results they had, for a
And
guy,
the money.
yeah, for a guy like Mike Elko to come in and completely turn that program around, do a 180, they're having their best season they've had in the SEC, and it's his first year there, with a roster that, to be fair, isn't all that different from what Jimbo Fisher had. So you look at the
I
success.
would argue it's worse.
Yeah, I mean, they lost a good bit of talent just from what Jimbo recruited and then left after he got fired. So
Walter Nolan was on that defensive line last year.
insane. That's insane to think about. So, yeah, Mike Elko has turned this A&M program around, and it's clear that Jimbo Fisher was the problem there.
LT Overton was on that defensive line last
Dude,
year.
they had ballers.
They had, I would argue they had 4 first-round draft picks playing on their defensive line last year. Walter Nolan, both the Shamars, and LT Overton.
It's a
And they
shame.
didn't make a bowl.
It's a shame what Gene Chizik 2.0 did to that team.
Bro, Gene Chizik, nah, I can't do that. I was going to say slightly better football coach than Jimbo.
Point stands.
Jimbo had a better agent, but very equal careers.
Yes.
What else do we know? I think we're good. Let's preview these
I've got
football games
one
right
more.
quick. Go ahead.
But we can preview them. We're
Let's
running
do
out of
this.
time.
All right, Ohio State at Penn State, massive football game this weekend in the Big Ten. Guys, neither of these football teams playing their best football right now. I think as I sit here on a Monday, Abdul Carter is the most important player in this game, the edge rusher / linebacker for Penn State. How much can he impact the game when the entire world and stadium know for a fact that Ohio State is throwing the football? At this moment in the season, when everyone knows Ohio State's throwing the ball 3rd and 9, 3rd and 7 plus, they are having a real tough time protecting and keeping Will Howard upright. I think this is a massive game for Abdul Carter. I like Penn State's ability to make Will Howard win this football game. That's going to be the key to beating Ohio State this year. Stop the run, put the game at the feet of Will Howard. Will he be able to win it? We'll find out as the week continues.
Yeah, this is a story that we've kind of seen multiple times throughout the year or throughout college football history where Ohio State's rolling. It doesn't really look like there's going to be any other team on their schedule to challenge them, or at the very least, Penn State's the one where it's like, if someone's going to derail Ohio State's season, it's going to be this game. So I don't know how it's going to play out now. This is probably the best chance Penn State's had in a while. We'll have our predictions for next week or tomorrow. So
I'll give a stat right now, and this is going to play into a little bit of, I think, ultimately my decision and prediction on this football game. Ryan Day versus top 10 teams. This is teams
Elite.
that finished in the top 10, not
Elite.
just the random, like, oh, Indiana was in the top 10 this one week, and then they finished unranked. Not elite. He's 3-5.
Oh, wow. So what is his top 10 record against just opponents that were top 10?
Oh, I don't know.
Because that's 7-3 with the only losses coming to Michigan, basically.
I have him at 3-5.
What were the games?
He lost to Michigan in 2021. He beat Michigan State 56-7 in 2021. He lost to Georgia in 2022. He beat Notre Dame 17-14 in 2023. He beat Penn State in 2023. He lost to Michigan in 2023.
Yeah.
He lost to Missouri in the bowl game last year, and he lost to Oregon now.
Okay. Maybe it's 10-5.
That's what I counted.
The finishing in the top 10 is important there. Those
That's
are
how I always
quality
count it.
Teams at the end. I do a little bit of both. To be
Yeah,
honest
I
with
know
you.
you're a little bit on the fence.
Yeah, I am. I like taking it in a vacuum because those are the emotions you played that football game with.
Yeah.
right.
You didn't play
I
that
get that.
football game knowing that this team's going to be bad towards the end of the year.
Yeah,
You played
for
the
sure.
emotions of that football game knowing that they were good at the time.
I think it's better to do it this way when you're a few years removed
That's fair.
because you forget all types of context surrounding that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's fair. All right, Oregon at Michigan. I think it's pretty simple to me. I don't think you're going to out-tough an Oregon football team with Dan Lanning as the head
you
football
are
coach,
not.
especially without an ability to throw the football. Like I think that was the misconception last year about Michigan. Yeah, they tried to tough you out, but they also had a first-round quarterback that could bail them out of situations when they couldn't lean on you. That's the difference this year. Michigan does not have that at the quarterback position. And the idea that you're going to go through 4 quarters and have an Oregon football team coached by Dan Lanning just randomly misfit runs consistently,
Right.
I don't buy that.
Yeah, not to mention the Michigan team that you had last year that out-toughed everyone was dare I say, twice as tough as a Michigan team you currently have. The talent you lost on that roster, the experience you lost, the coaching prowess that you lost, like it's not the same Michigan last year. I don't know if this could get ugly.
Michigan's too much of a cluster shock right now.
Nice. Texas A&M and South Carolina, real quick. I think it's simple. Texas A&M defense creates way too much havoc against a football player like Lenore Sellers right now.
Yeah, turning the ball over a lot for South Carolina. That might show up
It's a
on
bad
Saturday.
matchup.
The only way South Carolina stays in this game is if their defensive line and pass rush gives them opportunities and kind of gets Marcel Reed in turnovers.
I thought you were about to say the only way South Carolina has a chance in this game is if Connor Wigman starts. Louisville at Clemson. I think Louisville makes them earn it at least. But the funny thing about Clemson's schedule is not only is it an ACC slate, which we know this year is not very good, but this football team gets every opportune break with regards to the schedule as humanly possible, like this weekend when they get a bye week going into their matchup against Louisville, one of their only quality opponents left on the schedule.
Yeah, this will be the point of the season where we figure out how good is this Clemson team really. They had that long stretch where they won after beating Georgia. You play Louisville, you're at Virginia Tech, at 18th ranked Pitt versus the Citadel, and then you play South Carolina. That's going to be kind of the meat of your schedule here. So there's 2 losses on the board, I think, for them.
Ooh, let's talk meat. We got a whole nother hour coming up right now, and it's our local hour, and it is the meat of our schedule here.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? Really like that. You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
How about him?
Barking.
I'm a how about him guy. If anybody says go dogs to me, I
No,
immediately
like the
turn around and
figure.
go, how about him?
What's the equivalent of that figure?
Of the Roll Tide?
Of the Roll Tide Willie. Who's Georgia's version of that?
Oh, it's Buddy that dresses up in the full uniform.
No, I
downtown
thought it was
with the
Oh
glove
my
and everything.
God, I know
Honestly,
exactly who that is.
I thought the Georgia equivalent was the little kid with the Georgia hat going on. All we do is get the money. All we do is talk about this money. You know what I'm saying? I thought
That's a
that
good
was the
one.
guy.
It's definitely that guy, though.
God.
Is that the moment Alabama should have been like, hey, what the fuck's going on with this football team?
We got who showing up at practice?
We got who breaking down practice, calling plays during spring game? What? Welcome into our local hour. We got a great one for you. How did the results of early football season games, how did they age? We'll talk about that tonight. Kirby had a press conference today. We got notes for you. Early look at Florida's offense. I got a delightful film study coming for you tomorrow, and I've already got preliminary notes on who they are offensively. We're going to do a little scenario talk today as well, boys. I got an underrated dog for you. A dog that is going under the radar. It's also going to spur a top 5 underrated dogs tonight on the show. Excited for that one. We got CJ Wiley recruiting news as well on today's local hour. Where do you want to start? I want to start right here. Quick shout out to our friends over at BetUS. If you're looking for a new book this season, BetUS is indeed the answer. The fastest withdrawal and payout process in the entire industry. Head over to BetUS today using promo code YouTube150. You'll get a 150% deposit match on up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% deposit match on your next 2 deposits. Right now, we are 11-5 on locks. Luckily, I forgot to tweet out a couple of them this week that weren't going to hit. But we got the one that did. Shout out to Penn State for covering late in that football game.
I had a nice cash out this weekend.
Hell yeah. Love a good cash out.
Oh, yeah.
Over there on BetUS. Again, promo code YouTube150. 150% deposit match up to $2,000. 125% deposit match on your next 2 up to $2,000 over there with BetUS. YouTube 150 is indeed the code. You can click the link in the description of today's video to check out those guys. We appreciate them for being supporters of this network. We appreciate you guys for being supporters on this network. If you're not already subscribed, which stats say about 35% of you guys watching today's live show are not, I'm going to ask you, go ahead and hit that subscription button, man. We do it better than anybody else on the internet. Okay, let's do it. Where do we want to start today? We want to start with press conference notes.
Let's
we
hit
want to
this
start
presser.
with film notes. We want to start with press conference
Let's hit the presser.
Didn't even let me ask. You already had it ready. All right, here we go. Florida, did you know that their only 3 losses on the season are to 3 top 10 football teams?
Did not know that.
Played them close, too. Played them close. That would be Tennessee, Miami, and A&M.
Didn't play Miami
Didn't-
close.
Didn't play Miami
close.
or A&M.
Didn't play A&M close. So I think
Liar.
I'm not a liar. I didn't say these.
You said played him close.
You're calling the head man a liar.
You said played him close.
He said played him close.
Okay, well, you phrased that as your own words.
He phrased that.
Well, you
say
know
it 'cause
what?
he's
Kirby
not
Smart
watching.
says
Coach
it's close.
Smart, you
It's
lying,
close.
Damn,
If
guys.
Kirby says
Y'all
it's close, it was close.
He gonna look at me hella funny tomorrow.
Dude, all it's gonna be is motivation for the week. Dude.
You're
Maybe
right.
he'll shout out the film. The Film Guy Network didn't believe in us this week.
I would love that. Matter of fact, you know what? Florida's gonna win this week, Kirb.
Oh shit!
Non-context for no, just slap you all over the Twitter.
No
page.
context, guys.
Oh no,
God,
That'll be up in about 30 seconds.
damn! I forgot
You
about that.
can't get
guy.
caught lacking nowadays.
Yeah, bro, caught with the pants down and the feet out. Whoa.
He did it again.
Was talked about Lagway, or was asked about Lagway by yours truly. Said arm talent and strength is really, really elite, right? He makes wow throws on tape. Also said he's ahead of his time in terms of pocket awareness and pocket mobility. Steps up through it. That's something that Kirby's noted about good quarterback play. You got to be able to step up through the smoke in that pocket. Also said they use quarterback run when needed now that he is in that offensive setup as a true and only known starter. Doesn't sound like they will win the targeting appeal, or at least didn't make comment about it. I would imagine they've already gotten feedback on that one, having been 10 days since the appeal process. Was asked about Jaden Baugh, running back out of Decatur, who was actually Columbia High School, that's DeKalb, was actually Georgia, was the first offer for Jaden Baugh. Didn't really follow up on it, though. Didn't continue to show him love throughout the recruitment process. He ends up down there at Florida. Said Georgia offered early and didn't or actually have known about this guy since early on in his high school career. Was a big safety when he first camped at Georgia. Has obviously transitioned to running back and has done so really, really well down there at Florida. Was asked about Carson, right? Was asked specifically, is there anything... Will you check on Rashawn Dinkins?
Yes.
Make sure that didn't happen. Oh, no. You're good. You're good.
Was asked about Carson.
Was asked about Carson and asked if there's anything wrong with him. What do you think he responded with?
Carson's doing fine.
No.
We watched.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Ain't nothing wrong
I
with
could have
Carson.
answered that either way.
Ain't nothing wrong with Carson right now. And honestly, I think I know why some of that stuff's overblown, because not everybody watches this network. And I don't mean to do it that way, but it is honest. Like if you just look at box scores and TV copies lately of Carson, it doesn't look great.
No.
But all of it's explainable
Right.
if you just watch the film.
I mean, statistically, this has been his worst 3-game stretch of his career. Statistically.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people do. They just do the statistical stuff. And he threw 3 interceptions last game. And it's like, well, Makuba, great play. Lawson Lucky arguably should have caught the football. Bad spot. Missed it high. 3rd interception, Arian Smith's running the wrong route or the wrong depth of routes. Like we can go through all of them throughout the entire season. I can do this. And it'll sound like I'm defensive and it'll sound like I'm being, protective of Carson, but in reality, it's what it is. Right. And then he was followed up with that. Mark Weiser mentioned that Carson, after the Texas game, was like, I need to play better. And Kirby was like, well, I hope he says that. Like, that's what he's supposed to say. You thought that was funny, didn't you?
Yeah, it's like, did you want him to come out and say, I played the best game I'm ever going to play today?
Yeah, I thought I played great.
Yeah. Like, they're always part of the Georgia football mantra is you're always going to be looking to improve on what you did last week. So
Yeah, we got to coach
saying I have to play and coach better isn't necessarily indication that, oh man, I'm playing horrible right now.
I thought his funniest response today, and it was classic Kirby Smart, was when he was asked about what rivalry meant the most to his household.
Yeah.
He said Bainbridge and Cairo.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that mattered in my house, was whether or not we put food on the table because we beat Cairo this year.
The biggest takeaway I had from that was he was like, I didn't know what college football games rivalries were till I was 16.
grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
Which was, I guess, when he started getting recruited.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
They were the definition of a high school football family, as most in Bainbridge, Georgia are. I'm waiting for Bainbridge to come back. Do you think there's a world where when Kirby's like 62 years old, he just retires and goes make like $250,000 being Bainbridge's high school football coach? Because I think there is.
I'd hate to be in his region.
Yeah.
You just got a retired, cranky Kirby Smart.
Yeah. Buddy, you thought it was bad battle of rush propes for prospects down in South Georgia. Woo! Wait until you get a load of this one. Let's continue. Tate took reps last week. That's good news.
Mm-hmm.
Tate took reps. I said he knows he wants to play. I thought the note on Sam Mpimba was really important. That he notified and let everyone know that this guy was an offensive football player when we found him. And I think the reason I put it on the notes is because I don't think enough Georgia fans know the situation there. I think everyone expects 5-star get on the football field and want to see results, and they worry nowadays, especially that when 5-stars don't play, it only means, especially 2 years in, it only means they're going to the portal. I think that's what most people think, and they worry when they see that as a fan. But the good news here is that that's not just lip service that Kirby speaks when he's in front of the microphone. This is a guy that played offense. Guess what? Sam Mpimba came, per my sourcing, Sam Mpimba came to the University of Georgia knowing that this was going to be a long-term play, right? Knowing that it was going to require patience and knowing that that was the spot that he wanted to go get developed at. So I think this is good news in the sense that it's going on the track that Georgia and Sam Mpimba wanted it to go. It may not be going on the track that fans might want it to go, or it may not be on the track that Oregon's recruiting staff is going to pitch to him when they try to poach him this offseason, or whoever it may be. Insert team with Oregon, because it's going to happen. Somebody's going to be calling Sam Mpimba this year thinking that they can get up in on this one. Mm-hmm. All right, but the plan has been laid out and the plan has been followed to a T. I think that's good news.
Yeah, and I mean, the common belief, especially in this day and age of college football, is if you have a 5-star who doesn't really touch the field, playing meaningful snaps, and late into his second year here, it's, he's gone. He's going to go somewhere for playing time. Not necessarily because, like you said, this was the plan. This was the understanding of coming to Georgia, like, hey, you're going to have to work and you're going to have to go through a process the first few years to get where you want to be. Where we think you can be is one of the most elite players, but you still have work to do to get there. You're not a plug-and-play type guy the first day you get here.
I mean, every situation is different. I mean, what you're recruited as and where they want you to play may not be what you did in high school or how you played. And so, yeah, you're a 5-star and you're a great athlete and you can do all the right things. That's a big reason why we want you to come here. But it also just might take some time. But when it is your time and when you do get playing time, that's when everything will fall into place for you.
I thought it was pretty revealing that, and we know this. We know he's only about 90%, but Mykel Williams is still not Mykel Williams.
Crazy.
That's
and he looked like it.
I was about to say, he was the second best player on the field against Texas. Yes. Jalen Walker and him.
Yes.
Yeah. On that defense for sure.
On the field.
Yes.
I would go Etienne 3, 95, number 4 from Texas. Anthony Hill, number 5, maybe.
Yeah.
Makuba, number 6 is how I would rattle that off.
Gunnar Helms in there somewhere.
Gunnar Helms in there somewhere. But yeah, like,
he was up there.
And not even. He said he's not even at the rate where we can use him like we used him against Clemson, which basically was on first downs you're playing defensive end, on second and third down you're playing jack.
Yeah. So basically, just can't play him every down right now is what he's saying.
Well, it can't. I don't think they're universally using him yet.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I got you.
Right.
I don't think they're allowing him because if you're limited in terms of your ankle mobility, like one of the biggest plays he made against Clemson was him in the flat against a screen. He hasn't dropped into the flat, I would imagine, since then, right? He's only been playing really that defensive end role. So
I got you.
Any other notes on Kirby's presser? Did y'all have anything?
I did think I took note of the note of this senior class could go undefeated against Florida, and then I also tied that into how he said this game is very important for Tate, that he gets to play this weekend. It sounds like that they're hoping he is going to play this weekend. So, yeah, just it's an important game for your senior. I mean, going undefeated against Florida.
It happened since the 80s, I think.
Hasn't happened since 78 from 83.
And Florida hasn't done it since 2003, I believe, was the last time they did it. So it's a big deal for an entire class to go undefeated in this rivalry, no matter where teams stack up against one another throughout that stretch of time.
Yeah, the two things I took away from this were, one, he talked about how this game, more than others, feels more like an NFL environment where it's a rowdy crowd, but it's not an overwhelmingly home or away crowd. It feels you're in an NFL stadium. The crowd's 50-50. It's split down the middle. The atmosphere of it feels more like an NFL game than anything.
This will be my first experience, real experience.
It'll be my first time ever.
And,
Wait, really?
And here's
Yeah,
why.
I've never been.
No way.
Here's why. And you're going to leave that game thinking you've never been either, because you're in a press box that you get no pregame access at all. You get no postgame access. It is a enclosed press box. You're going to be watching that game from home, basically. So I hate to do that for you, but you're going to get there.
Sorry, Jay.
But most importantly, you're going to see Lowndes Valdosta Friday night. It's going to be the best high school football experience
I am
you've
excited
ever
for
had.
that.
in your
Oh, you guys
entire
are going to
life.
watch? Oh, that would
Yes.
be a good one.
This will be 20,000 high school football fans in South Georgia, where it truly does mean more. So you're gonna
it'll
have
be worth the
a
trip.
tremendous amount of fun this weekend. We still haven't booked the hotel, so if there's an Airbnb with a spare bed, me and Jonathan will snuggle up in it.
Lovely.
Hey, yo. But anyways, no, this football game I'm excited to go to and actually be on the field during it and see what he's talking about. It's very different than the Oklahoma Texas game because it's split.
Yeah, you're on one side.
Yeah,
of the
on
other.
one side, not at the 50. I think the home field advantage is never felt in this football game unless
Maybe if you're
you have the momentum.
Maybe if you're the X on the field side of away from Florida. But
Yeah.
Other than that,
But it's just a momentum swing game. Whoever's got the momentum's got the crowd.
Mhm.
It's weird. It's not like I said, the Oklahoma-Texas game, you feel like you're an away team the moment you cross the 50. There's never a moment like this in this game.
no.
Should they change that
You think they should split it the other way?
at the 50?
I don't have a
think
problem
they
with the way
should.
it is.
Yeah, we're
I
gonna
like
have to
it.
find out. So
The other takeaway I have was he was asked about Arian Smith because I think he had availability as
yes,
well.
he did.
He talked about how he's become more of the vocal leader in that room as well.
Yeah, he's been talking about this since the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Something that Arian has kind of taken up upon himself and said that Chaz has done a good job of this as well, and that Chaz didn't want to do it. It's very clear that it was uncomfortable for Chaz at first, but he's felt like he's taken a real role and a real step in that role this offseason, or this fall, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of maybe again one of those examples of once you start getting into the thick of it. Yeah,
Nah.
I saw it. You saw what I saw.
Toombs or Savannah?
Yeah.
That's a good football. But nah, I've never seen Lowndes versus Valdosta. I want to see this.
I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah.
But anyways, what I was going back to is once you start getting into the thick of it and like you're facing
the
some
thick of it.
adversity during the season, that's kind of when your true leaders kind of blossom and when it feels like it's put upon you to speak up and become one of those vocal leaders. So maybe I think that's kind of some of those instances that you've been seeing this year. Multiple examples. I think you've kind of seen it through the videos that the football team has posted of guys that are kind of emerging into those roles.
It's important. Something we talked about this offseason and even leading up into the season is like, hey, who are these leaders going to be? Who's going to correct the issues when they need to be corrected? Seems like they've settled into those roles. All right, where do we want to go next, boys? We want to do these Florida offensive film notes?
Yeah,
I
talk to
like
me about
these.
this Lagway.
I like these, man. Thoroughbred killer. That's the notes I got. Thoroughbred killer is this DJ Lagway guy. He's an OC's dream. I don't know of a young quarterback. I was talking to an NFL scout about this today. There's a lot of turn downs I watch on tape. I mean, we got done watching that Weigman tape, and then I went into the other room of the sports bar area over here and started watching Florida tape. And the amount of times Lagway throws a football when it looks like his wide receiver is covered, only to throw him open, is phenomenal for a true freshman. I mean, it is ridiculous, okay? Never a play, in my opinion, where he's not looking to maximize what the offensive coordinator has called. And for a true freshman to not only know the play, but know what my coordinator's trying to do and why he's trying to do it, and then go out there and, like I said, maximize that play almost to a fault at times. It's incredible. It's incredible to watch a young football player play with such confidence and know that he is really, really talented. When you watch this guy on film, it's very obvious that he's not just gifted. He knows he's gifted and he knows how to play to his strengths, right? He knows, like I said, what the OC is trying to do. Guys, he's got extremely thick lowers. Extremely thick lowers. It's one of the very first things you notice when you turn on the tape is, my God, the quads on this guy. The quads on this guy that go down to a really, really defined calf, area into thin ankles. Elite athlete. And his thick lowers create what is showing up on tape, where no matter if you've got guys draped on him, he has an ability to still throw with horsepower and still get it off of like really, really uncomfortable platforms when his lower half is disrupted by whether it be rush or whether it be by he's got to move off of his spot. It doesn't matter. He can get to the juice whenever he needs to because, again, he has those really, really thick lowers. I think this offensive line is as big as it gets from an offensive, a personnel standpoint. Height, weight standpoint, they are as big as they get. And they have a level of rapport that is only created by the fact that they are not transfer dependent as much as some of these other SEC rosters are. Say what you want about what Billy's got going on down there. He has leaned on the development of the prospects that he's brought into this roster. A lot of sophomores playing on this team, a lot of redshirt freshmen playing on this team, a lot of guys that this dude has recruited and developed over the last several years that he's been there. And I know that's why this football team's actually fighting for him right now. They're playing hard. When you turn on the tape, they are certainly playing hard, and I think that's why. The backs are extremely explosive, especially Jaden Baugh, the freshman out of Columbia High School. Number 3 and number 6, the two wide receivers, are problems for any defense facing these guys for two different reasons. Number 6 is the run by you guy. All right, they're going to take the top off of number 6, and they've done it really, really well with Lagway at the quarterback position. And then number 3, Eugene Wilson's their guy after the catch that is dynamic, and he's really, really hard to bring down. They get him the ball quickly. They get number 6 the ball deeply. Okay, so you have to be very, very aware of these football players for a very different reason. I think the other thing that is noticeable about Lagway is that he extends, and this is why I called him a thoroughbred killer. He doesn't just extend to find the check down, man. When he extends, his eyes are consistently downfield, and he's trying to kill you. So I think last week, the game plan is something I talked about consistently for George, and the key to win was to disguise coverages, right? Mix the looks, show him something one snap or pre-snap, and give him something different post-snap. And though that's important this week, and it's important every single week in college football nowadays, I think the most important thing when playing DJ Lagway is not necessarily changing coverage, but maintaining coverage. Like, you have to cover guys through the echo of the whistle, downfield especially. You have to stay attached to guys as the play continues to extend, because he will find those guys downfield. There was a play last week where it's a 3rd and short, and Kentucky's middle of the field safety jumps on the hook on a mesh route.
Can't do that.
You can't do it. You can't jump on those guys, because he's going to extend plays and he's going to find the void, and you're going to give up a 70-yard explosive. That's what's happened consistently on tape as soon as this guy gets into his bag, if you will. If I were a football team playing DJ Lagway right now, we would be a zone pressure football team that week. I don't think you have the ability to play a lot of man coverage because of his ability to extend. You're going to give up easy conversions, but you also can't just sit in zone coverage. He's going to extend and find ways to beat you downfield. So, like I said, I'd be a zone pressure football team. I'd bring them from random spots on the field and hope we can catch him.
So it sounds like Florida currently has a quarterback with thick lowers, ability to extend the play, can run if he needs to, has a cannon of an arm, might necessarily struggle with mixed coverages. What's the difference between DJ Lagway and Anthony Richardson?
I was going to say, like, could you just prepare for him like you did Anthony Richardson?
This guy, when you leave runners, when you leave guys open, he's hitting them. He's hitting them consistently. I felt like there were moments in Anthony Richardson's game where we were just waiting for him to make a mistake.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? We're just waiting for this guy to F it up, and he's going to eventually. I think they were far more willing to run Anthony than they are right now with DJ. Also, Anthony puts himself at really, really vulnerable positions as a football player, leaving his body exposed to big hits. This guy does not. This guy gets down when he's supposed to. He's got good spatial awareness as well. I don't know. I mean, the only true freshmen really playing at the quarterback position right now in Power 4 football are Dylan, Raiola, and this guy. This guy's putting far better tape on. Now, he's got better dudes. I think he's got a better offensive game plan right now. I talked about Sunday. Nebraska's got what I call NAD offense, not a single dude, not a single one. They've got at least a couple guys that can win. And he's hitting them, man. He's hitting these guys. There's a play I'm going to show you on tape tomorrow where Kentucky's playing cover 3, and he looks the safety off to the right the entire time, throws a 40-yard post and makes it look like a slant. makes it look like a slant. I mean, he puts it on the guy's face. All right, very akin to what that throw Nico had against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Very akin to that. The difference is this guy's consistently winning from within the pocket as well.
Gotcha.
They got a dude, man. I don't know if they're going to hold on to him forever, but they have a quarterback. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Now, he will make mistakes.
Sure. I
He
mean,
will
he's
make
a first-year
mistakes.
guy will. But you have a crucial piece that is required in college football to be a competitive team, and that is a good quarterback. So it's good that you have that, and hopefully you can continue to have that after this season as well.
I think they hold on to Billy.
I do
don't
too.
think they fire him.
The more the season progresses, the more I get
Crazy.
the feeling that they're just going to hold on to him.
Crazy.
Which, I mean, you're 4-3 right now, which isn't great, but a lot of people said you maybe would win 3 games.
He's got to win one of these games.
One of these moving forward.
Yeah,
Got to get to 5 wins.
because this is the part of the schedule where everyone was like, "Hey, shit ain't sweet here. You're playing Georgia, you play Ole Miss. I think Florida State. He's got to win 2 of these games. Florida State should be a win at this point.
Oh, 100%.
So I mean, I think it's LSU, Ole Miss, Georgia. There's another tough team on there. You gotta upset one of those, and I think you keep your job.
Have they played? Oh, they played Texas. That's the other one.
That's another one.
That's the one that's coming up.
So
Golly.
Yeah.
Shit in.
You said
murderous.
LSU, Texas, FSU at the end of the year. What was the other one you
Ole
said?
Miss and
Ole
Georgia.
Miss. Good God.
We're going to know.
mm-hmm.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
going to know about DJ Lagway, too, by the end of the year. All right. Any more questions about this offense?
No, I
I'm
think
excited to show it to you tomorrow. I think they're a little bit more capable than I thought they would be at this point in the season. Most of that has to do with the fact that this freshman is bona fide.
Yeah,
So there's that.
that always helps.
All right. How did the results age? Do you want to introduce this segment for us?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this just through the weekend since Georgia didn't play, of kind of how watching certain teams that Georgia's played retroactive, like Auburn and Kentucky, and realizing, man, that Kentucky game, Kentucky has not aged well since then. Clemson, on the other hand, is kind of aged. So I figured let's go back and kind of recap of what we thought about the win at the time, give it a grade, as to where now how the win looks.
I left the Clemson game thinking Clemson's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, oh, Georgia's defense, they played really, really good. Offense figured it out because Clemson was playing a very different brand of defense. I thought it was an A- performance from the offense, an A+ defensive performance, but I was like, God, Clemson's bad. That was my thought process. And now it looks like one of the better wins in college football.
Yeah, I probably would have graded that win as like a strong B+ coming out of it, just because it wasn't 4 quarters of dominance. It was from your defense. I mean, you only gave up 3 points. And now looking back saying you only gave up 3 points to Clemson's offense, like I have it as an A+ win, dude. I mean, that's you'd have a hard time finding a better win on most people's schedules than that.
Yeah, I also had it as a B+, where it's kind of people like, hey, wait a minute, what's up with the offense? Why did it take so long? It kind of looked bad for a while there. Ended up winning 34-3. Really solid win in week 1, but now it just keeps aging better and better. I have it as an A. I think there's a couple of things in there that kind of inklings of concern that have shown their head throughout the season. So I don't have it as an A+, but it's a great win. I think it's one of the best wins in college football right now.
Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. The Kentucky win is up for debate here. And I think I'm with you. It doesn't look as quality of an eked out win considering the ups and downs performances we've seen from Kentucky offensively and now defensively.
Correct.
But you had a different take on it pre-show.
Yeah, I'm arguing that the win actually looks better for you, and I'll give you 4 examples why. Ole Miss loses to Kentucky, Alabama loses to Vanderbilt, Tennessee loses to Arkansas, Notre Dame loses to Northern Illinois. These are all games that we've seen in this college football season where teams got put on the ropes against teams that nobody thought they were going to be, thought it was going to be. You should win that game, no question about it. Those teams lost that football game, and they are now fighting for their lives for the rest of the schedule because of that loss. And where you, especially knowing what happened after that game, I mean, I think that's a better win. I know what Kentucky is, but I think also when you take into account the history of that football game of Kentucky and Georgia, what they tend to do to Georgia when you go up to Lexington, I think that win has only gotten better for you, knowing that you came out of that game alive. You came out of that game with a win when there's been a lot of teams this year that have not come out of that scenario with a win.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely great that you won the game. That is certainly a plus there. And the stock of that win's kind of changed. It went up after they beat Ole Miss. It's gone down since then. They got killed by Florida, just got lost by 14 at home to Auburn. So I have it as an F right now. I mean, that's about as ugly of an SEC win as you can get against an SEC team that, let's be fair, is in the bottom 3 of the conference right now. So, yeah. So, I mean, an F as a win. You win the game by 1 point in a defensive affair. Your offense doesn't really look good. It takes a late touchdown for you to even get the lead. You trail for the majority of that game. You're the number 1 team in the country. Like, it's as bad as a win as you can get without losing. And I get it. You won, and that's great, and you're where you are right now because you won that game. And that's definitely a reason to say, hey, it wasn't all disastrous, but you got by that at the skin of your teeth. And I just don't think that you can the win itself hurts your strength of schedule more than anything.
I think an F win for me would look like the Georgia-Missouri game where it's 9-6 with just field goals. That would be an F win.
That was also
for me.
an F. Shout out 2015. Disgusting, but
fair enough.
I mean, you only had one more offensive touchdown.
No, sure. No, I agree. It was not pretty. It was not pretty at all.
And to be fair, the talent you had this year compared to 2015, you should have way more than one touchdown.
Yeah, I got you.
The Bama loss looks way worse now than
does.
it did leaving
Oh,
the
yeah.
stadium.
It does.
I would have gave it as far as a loss goes. I would have given it a B.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like a C plus.
I had it as a B minus because the thing we came away from saying was, yeah, you get down 28-0, and we all talk about it. That was as disastrous first halves can go. But you came back, you won the second half, and you lost on one play because a 17-year-old phenom made an amazing play. You lost that game because of that. Coming out of it now, we've seen Alabama's offense struggle against Tennessee. We saw them struggle against Vanderbilt. Well, not the offense, but the team in general struggle against Vanderbilt. We saw them have to do everything they could to beat South Carolina. Alabama's not the dominant team we thought they were when they beat Georgia. So I have it as a C minus right now, that loss. Because, yeah, you lost the game. Yeah, it was at home. Yeah, it's a tough environment. But this is probably the worst Alabama team Kirby Smart has faced. So not a great look as a loss anymore.
Mm-hmm. They were certainly gettable. It was a game looking back now, like, dang, we really should have won that game probably.
Yeah, we can do the ifs and buts,
Sure.
candies and nuts
Yeah.
thing. We've done it ad nauseum at this point. That will be a game that is forever misunderstood. By the way, we're already on the list for Valdosta Lounge.
Sick.
Just, big player be moving and shaking. It'd be like that.
Hell
Is
yeah.
that what they call you?
Yeah, big player.
Oh, big player needs some creds.
Yeah, big player needs some creds. Get my man on the sideline at this high school football game. One day we'll be able to big league, whatever college football game we want. It's like, hey, me and the boys want to pull up. Don't worry, we got sideline passes for you here.
That'd be pretty
at
dope.
USC.
We
versus
keep them in stock, actually, every
whatever.
week.
Yeah, we just been waiting for you guys to call.
Coach said, hey, keep these on the side just in case.
Coach be subscribing. And figure we'd hold a ticket for you. What's up with that face you got going on?
Just
over
read a comment from the chat. It was very interesting. Someone believes this is Kirby's second worst team. I don't know about that one.
16 and 19.
Well, he's saying this year would be your worst team after 16. Yeah, that's why I made that face. That's exactly.
It's definitely 2019. No, probably 2018.
Anything prior to 2020. Or,
Yeah.
like prior to 2021.
With the exception of 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the exception of that. But even then, I mean, overall talent.
Go watch some 2017 Georgia games and tell me that the players on the field look the same as what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I'm with you there. How many of those players not named the running backs and not named Lorenzo Carter and not named Roquan are starting today?
Malik Herring's a big rotational player.
Correct.
There's not many of them.
There's not many. Now, also, to be fair, the average lifespan in the NFL is 6 years, and that season's going on 8 years now, or 7 years.
I'm talking about just transport them. Transport them from that 2017 to 19 roster and just grab them as college players and put them on this roster. How many of them are starting?
Oh, none.
Lorenzo, Roquan,
College DeAndre Baker's probably starting.
Andrew Thomas,
DeAndre Baker's probably starting.
DeAndre Baker. And we're picking names from like random teams, by the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot.
Yeah, no.
You mentioned Malik Herring. Malik Herring playing over Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins right now.
No. When you said starting, I thought you meant like in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm talking about on this team currently
Yeah,
is how I would rank
No.
those.
Yeah, putting this team next to one of Kirby's worst in general. Like that shouldn't even be the association with this team of, oh, it's one of Kirby's worst. I think that should not be the word that is associated with this team. You just dominated the number 1 team on the road 2 weeks ago. What are we doing?
We're on to Auburn now.
Get the boy heated.
Get him mad.
Get the boy heated up.
When Jay will start shaking his head, you know he's about to fire something up. He's loading.
Man.
Auburn.
I don't think it's changed much.
It was weird. Like it was a decent.
Yeah, it's B plus
and about as clean as Auburn can play.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a handle your business win type thing. I think that the grade coming out of the win initially was a little lower because everyone was like, all right, we just had this game against Alabama. We're going to come out firing all cylinders. And it was a very not mundane, but a very formatted, all right, we're just going to handle business today against Auburn. 31-13 victory. Won the game by 3 scores, but it was also nothing exciting, nothing flashy. I think the wins age a little better now, honestly, just because of that.
Yeah, it was B plus now for me.
Yeah, these last couple of games haven't changed my opinion. Even the Mississippi State win, that happens in the SEC. You're going to catch a team on their best day.
Right.
Hopefully you win the football game. That's exactly what Georgia did.
Well, I had it as a C- at the time because I mean, not a great game is what it is, but it's a C+ now because of the way the Mississippi State looked against Texas A&M. They had a new offense. Now they got killed by Arkansas.
Mac this one.
But
Yeah, they did.
yeah,
My God.
yeah, it was bad. But they have shown you that they can give teams problems, like they gave you problems. Because the reality was, yeah, that game finished with a 10-point victory. It was a lot further than that. It was a late score by them that they were up 17. So
Yeah. To me, it hasn't changed. It was a pretty. It turned into an ugly win or a bit of an ugly win. So it was a C+ win. It's a C+ win right now.
Texas win remains the same for me even after this past weekend.
I went A and then A- now, just because they didn't come out and kill Vanderbilt like people were saying. They
Don't
would.
matter.
I don't
care.
think it matters that much. I mean, it's still
Kirby, they flew drones in the fourth quarter, and you still won.
dude. I couldn't see the drones.
But you missed out.
Yeah,
I love how
It was on TV.
Did you see Alabama copied the drones?
I did see that. Yeah.
And did you see Alabama fans didn't know that Texas did it and they copied? And the first 12 comments on Alabama's tweet of those drones and the photos was, "Can't wait for Georgia to copy us, little bro syndrome." It's like, buddy, you copped the idea from Texas.
yeah. I wish I could have seen the drones, man.
It was cool, man. Lots of drones.
Man, it
Lights
really
in the
got
sky.
me pumped up.
They even had fireworks coming off of them.
Damn, that's kind of.
I mean, it probably would have put chills on you, to be honest. It was just a riveting experience.
What really got me is when they showed those lights and then cut to Matthew McConaughey for the 37th time that day. And I got the goosies.
he's the minister of culture, man.
Instant classic right there.
Yep. Had to.
That's what did it for me.
Who gets more screen time on the big board, Matthew McConaughey at a Texas game or Uga at a UGA game?
I thought you were going to ask me who professionally aged Matthew McConaughey's leather jacket that he was wearing. I don't know. I need to find out. It was dope. I'm sure he paid several $1,000s for it, but it looked like it'd been professionally worn on the ranch several times.
Professionally. Oh, yeah. I got you.
Yeah, it had some wear and tear on the leather,
Dang.
particularly the elbows.
Maybe that's his game day jacket. Maybe that's just
That
what he,
is-
Not
Not to
not
do
good
this,
look,
but I
yeah.
did see the same exact leather jacket, at least it appeared to be the same one, in a 2006 interview of Matthew McConaughey on Late
See?
Night.
That might just be his jacket.
Yeah, he's probably.
I just made that up on the spot.
It was believable.
Yeah, you delivered it very well. I was like, oh, this man really loves watching Matthew McConaughey stuff.
All right. I can't believe we're out here talking about this being one of Kirby Smart's worst football teams. That's crazy. Guys, there's an underrated dog doing some underrated stuff right about now.
Who
And
is
I
it?
don't think he's getting enough love.
Who?
You know, last year we had a starting center start 46 consecutive games for the University of Georgia. And that was a lot. You know, offensive linemen tend to be having these starting streaks. You know, Joe Thomas, pretty famously known for one. Offensive linemen tend to be tough guys. They play a lot of snaps. They don't really come off the field traditionally when they're really, really good. And Cedric Van Pran played a lot of football. But there's another lineman that has started 37 consecutive football games coming up this weekend? Guys, I know you know the answer. I'm going to wait for the chat to hit me with this one. There is a defensive lineman for Georgia right now that is starting his 37th consecutive football game this weekend. 3, 2, 1.
Well,
Can you tell me who it is?
You got to remember, they are on a 5-second delay. So now count to 3.
3, 2, 1. Do you know who it is?
Someone got it.
It's Nazir Stackhouse. Nazir Stackhouse will make his 37th consecutive start this weekend. This is more consecutive starts than Jordan Davis ever made. It's more consecutive starts than Jalen Carter ever made. It's more consecutive starts than Devontae Wyatt ever made. Hell, it's more consecutive starts than Julian Rochester ever dreamed of making. This is the most dependable defensive lineman that has ever played for Kirby Smart.
Yeah, I mean, and it's gone so under the radar, too. I mean, when you talk about it, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, the Jalen Carter, the game records, everyone talks about, oh, man, we need guys like that on the D-line. You have someone who is giving you game in and game out consistency. I know there's been a couple of instances where he's had some down moments and that gets blown up on social media. You're not going to win every rep inside the defensive line position. So I do think he gets an unfair shake there, but he has been the model of consistency for a Georgia defense.
So you guys know this because you work with me, but in the recruiting department at Georgia, when they evaluate football players and when they evaluate their roster, they assign a letter grade to them. It's not A through F. It is whether or not we believe this player is going to be an All-American or whether or not we believe this player is going to be All-SEC or whether or not we believe this player is going to be winnable. Winnable is the bare minimum. You have to be a winnable or a winnable plus football player to start at the University of Georgia and consistently winnable. This guy has played winnable football for 37 games in a row, and people don't talk about him. People don't give this guy enough love on this network particularly, but anywhere in the Georgia space, you don't give this guy enough love.
I love Nazir Stackhouse. I just like him from a personality standpoint to how he plays on the field. I mean, too, like having that caliber of a player just continue to remain on your roster and to have that, I mean, the fact that he came back to play another year too, like that's such a luxury to have a Nazir Stackhouse come back and be a starter for you on that defensive line this year. I mean, I've always been a fan of his. I thought he's done a tremendous job for Georgia when he's had his opportunities.
Definitely one of the unsung heroes of that defense.
Definitely an underrated dog.
For sure.
Indeed.
Top 5 underrated dogs of the Kirby Smart era.
Let me start off with my 3 OLIs. Give them to me.
Don't have them. Number 5, Solomon Kinley. Solomon Kinley, so solid. So solid as an offensive lineman.
Solomon.
And solid Solomon. And played with 4 NFL football players next to him, guys that are still on rosters. And he played really, really good football and consistent football and consistently in the lineup, never really worried about injuries. Big Solly, number 5. Number 4, and I think this guy did get some love, but he played around guys that get more love than he does. J.R. Reed, number 4. I feel like J.R. Reed's time was overshadowed a little bit by Richie. And I understand that. Sure. Richie's fun to watch. I feel like J.R. Reed's timeline was overshadowed by guys like DeAndre Baker, Tyson Campbell, Eric Stokes, all of which were drafted ahead of him. All right, but J.R. Reed played really, really solid and great football for 3 years and honestly was only on your roster because he was cousins with D'Angelo Gibbs and played like really, really important football after transferring from Tulsa. Number 4, J.R. Reed. Number 5, Monty Rice. Monty Rice doesn't get enough love, and not only from Georgia football fans, but especially from Georgia football security. And I know you guys watch this show, so I'm going to go ahead and take a stab at you. My security folks at Sanford Stadium. All right, if Monty Rice wants to walk on the sideline, Monty Rice gets to walk on the sideline. He doesn't need a credential, folks. He's Monty freaking Rice. All right, let him walk wherever the hell he wants. If he doesn't have a credential, tough titty. He's Monty Rice.
Rice is nice.
Let him walk on the field. I've seen it twice this year at home games. Monty Rice walking on the sideline with a Monty Rice jersey on. And people are like, why are you down here? I don't know, because he almost, led the team in tackles for 3 years. It's Monty Rice. Number 2, Nas Stackhouse doesn't get enough love. We already talked about it. Number 1, you know who it is.
Who is it?
You already know who it is.
Well, we do, but you get
the White Mamba himself, Chaz Chambliss. Not enough love.
The White Wolf.
Not enough love from the folks.
Not enough
around
love.
Georgia.
Too much hate.
Too much hate. And I see some answers here in the chat. Karis Jackson, y'all love him.
Yeah.
Everybody loves him. Y'all gave Karis Jackson plenty of love. Dan Jackson now gets plenty of love. 12 months ago, would have been on this list.
100%.
Y'all love Dan Jackson. Y'all love Dan Jackson so much. The SEC, every other team trying to get them a Dan Jackson.
You got
Alabama
Shannon
got a
Sharp
Dan
saying he's
Jackson.
a Sunday player.
Shannon Sharp talking about him as Sunday player. Tennessee got them a Dan Jackson running around in the back end. Everybody wants some of Dan Jackson. Dan Jackson already got plenty of love. Who else? Charlie Warner. Y'all love Charlie Warner.
Beloved dog.
Y'all love Charlie Warner. Y'all got plenty of love for Charlie Warner. I remember one of my biggest mistakes as a reporter was to doubt the toughness of Monty Rice. Going into that Alabama football game in 2020, I got a phone call on Tuesday afternoon saying, no chance in hell. No chance in hell this guy plays. Ain't no chance. Game time decision, though, but no chance. So I put it out. Hey, ain't on the Patreon, this guy is not going to play. He goes out there pregame, and I don't know what they do, but Mans finds a way to play almost every snap in that Alabama football game in 2020 and continued to play throughout the year with what I'm pretty sure was a broken bone in his foot and played linebacker doing
that
so.
tends to hurt.
Yeah, that tends to hurt. Still hanging on in the NFL as well. Any other honorable mentions for not getting enough love, dogs?
I think another player that would have been on this list, but after last year, he's probably not anymore, is Rojak. I always thought he was one of the more underrated players when he was at Georgia, but I think he definitely got all the love that he deserved after what he did last season for Georgia.
I think people forget how much of a consistency 50-50 ball guy Javon Wims was for you in that 2017 season. Like, he was your go-to receiver. And
Tremendous downfield blocker, too.
Yes, very under. That's what he played for mostly in 2016. So I think he's an underrated. Didn't have a very long stretch. Only played for Kirby Smart for 2 years, but he's an underrated one in my opinion. I'm trying to think of others. I think Mecole is not underrated. He's
Properly rated.
People love Mecole.
Almost, dare I say, overrated?
No.
No?
Mark Webb's not a bad one.
Mark Webb's not a bad one.
That's a good one.
Mark Webb, good football player. Big nickel. Is that as big as it's gotten at Star?
What was he, 6'4"?
Oh, dude, 6'3", 210.
It's insane.
I mean, he's massive. He's
Yeah.
a huge human. Jamari Sawyer getting some love in the chat as well. I felt like everybody by the time he left knew how good he was.
Oh, after the Michigan game especially.
Yeah.
That
And
dude
like,
feasted.
going into that NFL draft process, the fact that Justin Schaefer went ahead of him is just, what are you doing?
Don't really want to talk about that one as a Falcons
Oh, yeah,
fan,
that's
but
the Falcons thing.
yeah,
That's
Hey, they drafted a
unfortunate.
Georgia player, though.
did.
Yeah.
Could have used a swing offensive lineman like Jamari Sawyer, though.
It's a good question. Where does Isaac Nada rank? He's a Mark Richt guy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was committed.
Had some really fun moments. Definitely will be remembered.
Peaked as a high school senior, though.
Yeah.
My favorite Isaac Nada play is him allowing a strip sack, then
Just to
picking up
pick it
the
up and
fumble
take it
against
for a
Tennessee and
touchdown.
just carrying it for a touchdown. That was in 2018.
Guys, there was a big decommitment this weekend.
Ooh.
A big one. Some would say 5-star.
Cataclysmic.
Yeah, C.J. Wiley decommits from Florida State this weekend at an opportune time, right? 45 days, essentially, until early National Signing Day. And arguably the best wide receiver in the 2025 class is now available to be recruited again. We have the first 3 weeks of his senior season highlight ready and ready to go for you guys. We're going to watch that. But I want to give you a player comp to start this. Okay, you ready? 6'4", 200 pounds. Dad played in the NFL. Mom ran track. Mom ran track at LSU. This guy keeps getting better, all right, and is an incredible, incredible worker. All right, he was at Texas A&M this weekend on a visit. I have sources that tell me he was at the field at Milton High School at 11 a.m. Sunday morning on the jugs machine, back to work, working out. This guy is a certified grinder. All right, he gets after it. And he's continued to get bigger and more muscular, but without getting wider. And this is important, okay? When you're a young athlete that's got NFL pedigree, I know you're going to continue to get bigger, but when you're a wide receiver, what I can't have you do is continue to get wider. If you look at Wiley, he's got really narrow shoulders. He's got really narrow hips, all right, which means no matter how much bigger he gets, he's not going to widen out, which means he's not, most likely not going to lose any type of short area quickness that he already has. All right, my NFL comp for this guy is Terrell Owens, and here's why. Okay, Terrell Owens, one of the greatest of all time, arguably a top 3 wide receiver in the history of the NFL. But despite all of that, Terrell Owens not a natural catcher of the football. In fact, I looked it up today. Terrell Owens dropped 7% of his targets. That's a lot. That's a lot for an NFL Hall of Famer who is a first ballot guy who most people think is a top 3 wide receiver of all time. This guy, CJ, also has a inconsistency pop up like all the time in terms of the ability to catch the football. It's not 100% if you throw it at this guy, he's going to catch it. Does not have natural hands. I would not classify them as natural hands. It's the only minus on this guy's recruiting profile. And guess what? It was there for Terrell as well. But the thing is, when you're this big, when you're this fast, when you create this much separation, you're a big play waiting to happen at all times. And that's exactly what this guy is. Let's go to the tape. All right. We're in the all-black uni today. How about that? All right, let's take a look at the tape. I was at this football game. This is them against Buford. I might have left at this point because there was rain. So we are unmuted, so we're good there. All right, so what we're looking for, all right, in this tape is the ball to get in on his body. If the ball gets in on his body at all, that's what we're talking about with regards to the maybe not necessarily a natural hands catcher, all right, but you're going to see the athletic profile that this young man presents, okay? He is an elite after-the-catch guy as well for being so big, right? Being a 6'4", 200-pounder, the ability to do stuff like this after the catch is a bit ridiculous. There's that long gait. You can see it in the track speed. This is a guy that's got 10.78 verified track times, all right?
No way.
Yeah, way. He did it. That's against, I can't quite tell right there. All right, I think this might be one of our hands catching reps, our body catching reps. See how we let that one get in on our body a little bit, guys? How it hits those pads. All right, I want to see you pluck it. What do you got?
He kind of reminds me of Quentin Johnston right now.
Uh-oh.
Which, I know it's a bad comp right now, but he was a great college wide receiver.
Yeah, and it's a very similar profile, right? We're going to give him a slant, and he might take a 75.
Right.
And can run by you and catch go balls. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, yeah, I don't hate the comp. Now, the reason that highlight clip, in my opinion, through 3 games is a lot, the data sample is a lot smaller than it was a year ago. Ethan Barbour is now on this roster, and it certainly changed the way they call offense, as you would imagine, when you've got one of the best pass-catching wide receivers, or tight ends, rather, playing wide receiver in all of high school football on your roster now. So things have certainly changed for that football team. Whereas last year, that guy had 1,400 yards and 21 touchdowns or something like that.
So, I mean, this is the question everyone wants to know. He decommits. Is Georgia the favorite here, or is it kind of they're in a battle with someone? Or?
Yes, I think Georgia and obviously A&M's now a player. You know, anytime I see a guy decommit fresh off a visit, I'm like, that's a red alert. But here's the thing that was interesting when I talked to sources about this, both in the Georgia camp and the camp close to Wiley. Georgia's obviously a main player, and everybody knows that. What they're having a tough time trying to figure out right now, and I haven't spoken to CJ personally, obviously, but what everyone else is trying to have or having a tough time identifying right now is who is the other threat, right? Everyone knows Georgia's a massive player here, but who's that other one going to be? And that's from the Georgia side, that's almost concerning because they don't know who's on the other end of this type of quote-unquote negotiation, if you will. So that's interesting. But, yeah, I certainly think Georgia is the one to pay attention to right now, obviously with A&M in the mix as
A&M
well.
got
I think Oregon's going to take a run at this as well.
Certainly a weird spot to be in considering early national signing day is approaching rapidly.
Bro, we're so close to that, to be starting anew, essentially. And that's why I do lean towards Georgia here. Like they've laid the groundwork on this for a long time. Yeah. They didn't stop recruiting him either. That was very apparent after the commitment. He let it know. Even when he committed to Florida State, it was like, I mean, I just said I was going to Florida State today. I didn't sign any papers. Even said that out loud. So LSU was an initial player in this one. I haven't heard their name pop up as much as of late. So it'll be interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, A&M, after this weekend, they're big players now.
Yeah. Big players all over.
They got a head start on the 2026 class, that's for sure.
Yeah, Aaron Gregory and Jordan Carter, 2 football players out of Douglas County High School that I like a lot. I don't know if Georgia loved Jordan Carter as much as I did. I'll tell you that much. I would sign Jordan Carter's every single year. You're telling me I get a 6'3", 3.5, 260-pound line of scrimmage player who just plays like his life depends upon it every single snap, I'm all over it. However, that's not the physical mold that they recruit anymore at that position.
Yeah.
They're 6'5", 240 plus with long arms and traditional 5 technique NFL bodies. That's what they're recruiting nowadays at that quote unquote jack/defensive end position. They liked him a lot. They loved him a lot. I don't know if they were willing to play ball at the rate right now A&M is. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the Aaron Gregory situation goes, they're going to have to continue to recruit that guy.
Yeah.
Like 5-star caliber wide receivers in the state of Georgia, you can't let walk.
No.
All right. Not without a good stern talking to.
Right.
And the good news is it's a 2026 commit. So you
plenty
get plenty
of time there. Also, good news is you would imagine if I had to make you bet before December of 2026 when these guys sign, all right, or December of 2025 when these guys sign, is there regulation on the NIL front before then?
I would think so.
At least the groundwork for it.
Yeah.
At least we know what it's going to look like. So I think the 2026 class could either see some drastic all-in type NIL recruitment basis, or at least that up front with a resettling of the market once regulation comes. So,
Agree with that.
do we have nostalgic tape tonight?
We actually didn't get that together.
Okay.
But
Sorry to disappoint.
No, it's all good. I mean, we could try to do it on the fly.
You
we
got
can
a
just
name?
watch one if you want. Don't have to make you guess. You know what I
Okay.
haven't seen in a while? Nick Chubb tape.
I don't think I've ever seen Nick Chubb tape.
Nick Chubb Cedartown tape is very fun to watch.
Cedartown. Chubbtown.
Chubbtown.
Yeah. Formerly known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you read the history?
The
they
history
talk
lesson
about?
behind Chubbtown?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very aware. It's a crazy time. I mean, we're only like 80 years removed from that.
Yeah. Insane.
We're like 2.5 generations removed from,
Yeah,
hey,
there's
just make their own town.
not great.
Not great, not ideal, you know?
There's
We've
peop-
come a long way.
Yeah,
we
there's
got ways to go, but we've come a long way.
for sure.
All right, let's watch some Cedartown tape. I thought you were going to show me track highlights.
Oh, they might be mixed in here.
They
I don't
probably would be worth watching if they were there.
Oh my God.
That kid wanted no business.
You know what? Honestly, ideal for that guy. Ideal
Yeah.
for that safety that he chose to put you on the ground instead of run you into the ground.
Yes.
That's ideal for 4 right
Yes.
there. That's the best we can do
That was
on Nick
try to
Chubb's tape.
dive at his legs, make it look like I tried, but
Yeah.
he didn't want the smoke.
They're going to counter back the other way, aren't they? Yep. Oh, no, he doesn't.
What?
I mean, that's basically what he did to Clemson his first ever carry in college. The only difference is he didn't lose a shoe.
People forget that his
Immediately?
his shiftiness was underrated. I
Oh,
think.
yes.
Like he wasn't gonna juke you out of your shoes, but
This is that clip right there, and watching him do this on the NFL is what made me so frustrated when people were like, oh, Branson Robinson lifts weights.
yeah,
Well, they do it with everybody now.
Oh, everybody. But this dude's straight line speed and one cut ability is
insane.
ridiculous.
he ran a faster 40 than Sonny Michel.
Dude, he has the fastest GPS times when healthy in the league. Like faster than Tyreek Hill in a straight line. This guy is crazy good. No swag either.
Nope.
Didn't
No
need it,
swag. Zero. He still rocks the no swag.
That was
Did you
one
see
of
the video of all of his
No sleep.
teammates like hyping him up before his first press conference? If you're a Georgia fan at all, and if you followed Nick Chubb's career, you need to go watch that. It's a real heartwarming situation where, you know, his players or his teammates are off camera, you can't see them, and they're like, yeah, Chubb, let's go, baby. And you can see him, because it's the first time he's back in a long time after a major injury again, and you can see Nick Chubb getting emotional. And you can see him almost like crying, because that's what he does it for, man. Like he ain't doing it because he loves the money. He ain't doing it because he loves the limelight. He does it because he loves football. That's what it's always been for this guy, man. You love to see guys who do it right. You love to see things that work out for them, man.
Yeah.
Poor Cass High School. Ain't never seen nothing like
I
that.
think the best quote I ever heard on him is, "You've got a lot of high maintenance guys in the NFL. You've got low maintenance guys. Chubb is a no maintenance guy."
My favorite is when he gets mic'd up.
Yep.
And all you hear is,
And then Damn, I'm tired.
And then here's the ball, ref. I'm going back to get some water.
That's getting flipped, by the way.
What?
By the way, no context, guy. I guess he isn't watching tonight.
That boy's
Oh,
slacking.
see, that's what you expose yourself to.
That boy
is
leaking.
that
Yeah, you built
now
up-
we know when you ain't being a real one night.
Mm.
You ain't catching us live. I'm sure you'll get the rewatch, though. We'll know, though, if you get the rewatch.
We good?
Yeah, take
I
us
think
home,
so.
man.
All right. That is it for tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we got a what to expect coming from Florida's offense. Going to be filming that in the morning. We'll probably have it out sometime midday tomorrow. Appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you